start reading where that. Let the council know. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Albany City Council meeting on this day, August the 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Please join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we'll have roll call, please.
Councillor Kopczynski.
Here.
Councillor Johnson.
Here.
Councillor Smith. Here. Councillor Olson.
Here.
Councillor Novak.
Here.
Councillor Bartholomew.
Here.
Mayor Johnson II.
Here. Thank you very much, Allison. Next is the public hearing. Persons wanting to provide testimony during public hearings at the Albany City Council meetings may, 1, email written comments to the staff contact listed below, include your name and subject of the public hearing before noon on the day of the meeting. Or 2, testify virtually during the public hearing, register by emailing the staff contact listing below before noon on the day of the meeting, with your name, number, and if you are speaking for, against, or neutral on a project or subject. The mayor will call upon those who have registered to speak virtually. 3, appear in person at the meeting and register to speak using the sign-in sheet at the front of the door. Is Albany Helping Hands Street Vacation. David Martineau will be covering that for us. I'm gonna go to the handbook. Jefferson Street Row Vacation. Next on the agenda is the quasi-judicial public hearing regarding planning VC 0122. The proposal is for the vacation of a portion of Jefferson Street right-of-way lying north of 9th Avenue Southeast and south of Pacific Boulevard Southeast. Add or order a new contact, so bear with me. I'll call to order this quasi-judicial public hearing at 6:02 p.m. If you wish to testify, there will be 3 options available, which were described in the agenda. Do any members wish to decline to conflict of interest? Declare a conflict of interest. Do any members wish to do any members wish to report a ex parte contact?
I can tell you that I have spoken with Ms. Vanderberg, and Ms. Vanderberg has shared information with me. I also have done a site visit.
So I as well have done a site visit and spoken with Ms. Vanderberg.
And I have too, Your Honor. I have spoken with Ms. Vanderberg.
Councilor Olson, have you spoken with Ms. Vanderberg?
I don't have any conflict, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we all received the email from Ms. Vanderberg. So the next question is, do any members wish to report an ex parte contact? We've done that. Do any members wish to report a site visit? We've all done that, at least most of us have. Do any members wish to abstain from participating in the proceedings? Okay. Does anyone wish to challenge the city council's right to determine this matter or the participation in the council meeting in this hearing and decision? If so, please raise your hand if you are attending in person. If you are attending virtually, please turn on your camera and raise your hand to be called upon. Or if you are attending by phone, please unmute yourself and state your name and to be called upon.
And Mayor, Mayor, so I hate to do this, but everybody who's announced an ex parte contact is going to now need to describe what that conversation was.
Okay,
So we
Okay.
can, yeah. So we'll just go around the room. And
so I'll go
yeah.
first.
Okay.
Ms. Vanderburg called me one evening, and we discussed her concerns about the vacation. And I told her that I would stop by, and I did stop by and speak with her, with Counselor Novak, I believe. And she just showed us expressed her concerns and showed us the area that she was talking about and how people had encroached and dumped stuff on her property. And she saw pictures, I saw pictures of a person lying just in front of her home.
I can go next. I had a telephone conversation with Ms. Vanderburg probably 2 months ago.
I also had a conversation, and as she explained, the difficulty of too many cars trying to park in there and so forth, parking on her yard, nuisance as far as her living there. But I told her that I would, if something came up, there's something I could do about it, I'd try and do it. So, I sympathized with her, in short.
Anyone else?
So initially, months ago, Ms. Vanderburg contacted me by phone, and then because I'm not very visual, I went to the site so that I could see the proposed vacation and her property and how this would affect her property. And also, she shared with me some things I did not know about some of the folks who are residents of Helping Hands and some folks who sort of live outside of Helping Hands and on the street, on the sidewalk in front of the place, and also sometimes make it so her cars are blocked and she can't get out of her own driveway. So she shared with me quite a lot of information that prior to that I had no idea.
Thank you, Counselor.
And so I had a conversation with Ms. Vanderburg about 2 months ago as well. She was expressing her concerns about the folks on this street and the vacation.
Yes, and I had the same conversation. She called, and I did go and visit, but on the phone call, she was really upset because she had to clean up after everybody. You know, Helping Hands doesn't do anything. You know, it's around them, and it's usually people that live there that just kind of wander during the day. And so, you know, and then she said they also leave leftovers there and whatever, and her dog ate something one time, and she had to take it to the vet, and she can't afford the vet, but, you know, it's her dog, and so it's not a good situation, and I empathized with her and said that, you know, we'll see what we can do, because, I mean, she lives back there, she has forever. Someone told her, well, you can just move. Well, no, she can't. So I think it's very important that we consider what she says.
Is that it, Counselors?
Well, I guess I feel left out of the loop because I never had any contact with her at all. I didn't get a voicemail or any email, other than the email I think we all got this afternoon from her. That's the only contact I've had with her.
Thank you, Counselors.
Sir?
Is that,
Forgive me, I don't want to interrupt, but you were asking if that was all, and I don't want to say the wrong thing or be out of line, but I did say that I've come to learn a lot in the last few months, and I can say that had I known back in March when we first voted on this vacation, the things that I now know, I would have voted otherwise.
okay, thank you. We'll have plenty of time to discuss this as we go through the meeting. Okay, should I read that statement? Does that satisfy you, City Attorney?
Yeah, that's fine. We're just doing that to protect for if there's a challenge to Luba, we'll have a record of it, so.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I call upon the reading of the meeting procedures by David Martineau.
Thank you. For all those wishing to testify, please be aware that you must raise an issue with enough detail to afford the city council and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue if you later want to raise that issue on appeal. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the approval standards staff will describe or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or development code that you believe apply to the decision. If additional documents or evidence are provided by any party, the city council may allow a continuance or leave the record open to allow the parties a reasonable opportunity to respond. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with enough detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court.
At this time, I call for the staff report from the project planner, David Martineau.
Thank you. So, a summary of the request. So, on March 7th, 2022, the Albany City Council initiated the vacation of Jefferson Street Southeast, north of 9th Avenue and south of Pacific Boulevard. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on July 18th of 2022 and voted 6-0 to recommend that City Council approve the proposed street vacation. The property owner of the street is the City of Albany. So the vacation involves a southerly 150 feet of Jefferson Street right-of-way lying north of 9th Avenue and south of Highway 99. This is a view of Jefferson Street as it exists more or less presently. Summary of the request, again, the city will retain the 66-foot wide public utility easement in the right-of-way right now. And then secondly, we'll provide a 26-foot access easement down the center of the existing right-of-way. So this process for street vacation is a type 4 quasi-judicial process. The decision-making criteria are found in the development code under section ADC 2.630. Agency notice was sent out to agencies with jurisdiction. Public notices were posted on site and mailed to surrounding property owners, as well as published in the newspaper twice. And the Planning Commission made a recommendation on July 18th, and then tonight, this is case here for City Council for your consideration. I just summarized the public notice information already. And following the July 18th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, we did receive one emailed comment, which has been forwarded to you. In conclusion, staff finds and the Planning Commission finds that the proposed vacation will not eliminate access to any parcels, nor will the vacation have a negative impact on traffic circulation or emergency vehicle service protection. Accordingly, approving the vacation will allow the right-of-way to become private property. Accordingly, staff and the Planning Commission recommends approval with two conditions: that a 66-foot public utility easement over the vacated right-of-way remains, and then secondly, an access easement for the center 26 feet of the vacated right-of-way shall be retained. That's all I have. Are there any questions?
So does any council members have any clarifying questions regarding the staff report?
I do.
So Councilor Johnson was first.
Okay, thank you. Okay, David, now, on paragraph 2, under discussion, it says expansion of the facility triggers the need for additional off-street parking on a site which is unable to accommodate additional space sufficient. So is this different than any other development, building or construction that, because it seems like parking isn't really, a lot of it isn't required anymore, so I'm just wondering what the difference is.
So is the question relating to, do we have precedence in vacating right-of-way to accommodate somebody's parking?
Well, it says it triggers the need for additional off-street parking.
Yes.
So
So
that's-
on their property presently, there is not enough parking to accommodate the 18 spaces that their expansion will require. They only have about 8 spaces currently on site. And so in order for them to be able to accommodate the extra parking that they need, then the right-of-way vacation would provide ample room to install those extra spaces on their side of the property.
So it's different than if there's an apartment complex or something like that goes in and we don't require that much parking for each person or that?
But there are standards for apartment parking depending on the number of units and the number of bedrooms. And typically that parking is required to be on site.
Okay. And then the other thing is if vacated, the ownership of the underdeveloped right-of-way would revert to the adjoining properties. So would it be half to the people on the west and half to the people on the east?
That's correct.
So that becomes part of their property?
Yes, that's correct.
So they gain property, so they have to pay taxes on it, and Helping Hands wouldn't, of course, but the people would, and even though they are not in favor of doing this, correct?
I don't know what the answer is to the tax question, I have to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
But yes, that portion of vacation or vacated right-of-way would go to the abutting property owners all the way up that street.
Yeah, because,
So there's two other residences besides Ms. Vanderburg's
yeah,
on the west side.
okay, thank you.
Counselor Novak.
Thank you, sir. Under Findings of Fact 2.1, it says vacating the right-of-way will not have a negative effect on any properties. And my understanding, both from my site visit and conversations with Ms. Vanderburg, is that it would most assuredly have a negative effect on her and her property.
So this application before you tonight is simply for the street vacation. You know, the Helping Hands project was a conditional use that was approved by the Planning Commission. And so based on simply having an effect on access, for instance, to the public rights-of-way, access would still be provided. That's the purpose for that access point down the middle, that 26-foot access that will remain. So as far as being able to access properties and also to get out to 9th Avenue, that access would be preserved.
All right, it could be that I've just misunderstood the way it was explained to me by Ms. Vanderburg, but I've seen where she parks her cars and the entrance of her home, both of which face Jefferson Street. And again, I'm not super good on the visual, but unless I've misunderstood, she would no longer be able to park her cars where she has always parked them, and she would not be able to enter her house where she enters her house. And to me, that's a very big situation to ask of any homeowner.
If this vacation is approved, it will provide an additional 33 feet of property that she would be able to be entitled to. And the ability to use that property for access and driveways is feasible, that could be done.
I appreciate that, sir. Ms. Vanderburg also mentioned that she had been asked how many parking passes she needed for the street. So that leads me to believe that somewhere there's a miscommunication.
That's
I
not
don't know.
anything that's been in our analysis for the street vacation request.
But, so for on-street parking is now permitted, correct?
It appears, I think, since council made that call a
So
couple of weeks
it's
ago,
it's
that it's by
permitted.
permit.
So my question is, and I think you were going there, does Ms. Vanderburg need a permit to park on 9th Street, even though she's a homeowner?
That I don't know. I don't know if she's parking on 9th or on Jefferson.
I have more questions, but go ahead, Counselor Olson, I'll go last.
So if we are,
Excuse me, he's going to answer the parking question real quick for us.
do what?
He's going to answer the parking question for us.
Well, I want to ask about the property. Is she going to acquire property with this vacation?
Yes, she would acquire the westerly 33 feet of the vacated area.
So she'd be able to park her cars on her own property, I would guess.
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay, so she'll gain parking space
Yes, I think that's true.
and still be able to get out of her driveway if she wants to drive up close to her house, if she's got a load to stop, she wants to unload. Do we
Yes.
have a picture showing that?
Well, yeah, we do. So in this slide here, you can see where there's a 26-foot wide access easement that will be retained.
Boy, it's very difficult to see.
It's very difficult to see.
Yes. Especially without your readers.
That's better.
And which property is her property?
Her property is the one that's addressed 834.
Okay.
You've got to make.
And you're showing us the property that she will gain with this?
No, not in this particular slide. So what happens is that the 66-foot right-of-way that's there now gets split down the middle. So 33 feet of that goes to the properties to the west, and then the other 33 feet go to the properties to the east.
Okay, and where is her driveway on this?
834. Very bottom.
Where's her driveway on?
Right in front of 834.
The driveway doesn't go up to the house?
That's right. She just parks in this grassy area right here in front of the property.
Is that her car in this photograph?
I don't know if that's her car.
I believe it is, sir.
Is she here?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe she can say whether that's her car.
Well, she'll have that chance when it's time for the testimony.
So she can't answer a question that I ask, even though she's here, because of our darn rules?
That's what
Okay,
it is.
Oh,
then I would defer to
Thanks,
to your
Mayor.
counsel on that.
So, Ms.
This is
Vanderburg,
ridiculous.
can I ask her to answer the question for the attorney?
Go ahead.
Can I ask her? Let me-
The owner of the
I got-
property is here in the audience,
Olson.
but she can't answer
Counselor
a
Olson.
question that I ask. The
I'm-
mayor
I'm-
doesn't
I'm-
know the answer.
Counselor Olson.
And the planner doesn't
Coun-
know the answer.
Counselor Olson, I'm addressing the city attorney right now to get the answer to the question.
Well, you don't know what my questions are, do you?
No, whether or not she can answer the question. That's the question I'm
So-
going to ask.
So traditionally, how public meetings are run is that the applicant, which is the city, will come up and talk. The city council then will ask questions of the applicant, and then next, Ms. Vandenberg will come up, and she will have an opportunity to speak, and the council can ask as many questions of Mrs. Vandenberg as they want. So that there's an order to this, and that's what we've always done. So she will be coming up, and we can ask her questions, but you don't want to get back and forth where people are coming back and forth and stuff, so.
Well, I'm pleased you're going to let her talk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to steal Chris's thunder there.
Thank you.
But to answer the question that was brought up originally, you do not need, once that property is vacated in that however many feet, Mr. Martineau says 33 feet, whatever it is that reverts back to those property owners, they do not need a parking pass to park on their own property. That will be their property. They can park there without a pass. So it doesn't, that goes away at that point. So
My question was to him, if she had, say, a visitor come and parked on the street, would they need a permit to park?
So, Mayor, yes, she would. I went out and talked to her when that got passed, and I asked her if she'd like permits. And I just asked her how many, and she said she did not want any. So I gave her my business card, and I said,
Okay.
if you like them in the future, give me a call.
Okay,
So that's what happened.
thank you. So any other questions for David Martineau, Planner Martineau? Counselor Kopsinski first.
This possibly would be a call for a question for Chris, but I'll ask David first. Since we put up the signs that said the no parking on the other side, cars were then being removed. What is there now? Are there any cars that are being parked erroneously in that area now?
Erroneously, no. We had one, they got moved along. The rest all do have permits currently. Day to day, we've had some issues at night, but we're currently working on that.
So basically, that issue has gone away.
Yeah, it's much like, when Sidons of Victory ran that, the outcome's pretty much showing the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselor?
Yep.
Counselor Johnson?
I just want to clarify, did I say she did need a permit or she doesn't need a permit? Sorry, Chris.
You're fine. I need to step
There you go.
So the district that you guys approved, or I guess added to the original one, was from Jackson, or on Jackson, from the overpass to the railroad tracks, and then from 9th from Jackson to the on-ramp onto the one-way 9th. That's more of the main street. So in front of Helping Hands, all of that 9th between elevated construction, don't know what their actual name is, elevated modulars, and Helping Hands and Ms. Vandenberg's property, that is all permitted. So if she had a guest that wanted to park on there, she would need a permit, which she has access to. She just said she didn't want it from me. So I didn't issue them. I just gave her my card and said, give me a call if you ever do change your mind.
Thank you. Counselor Bartholomew? Okay. We're gonna move on, and then we'll have a chance to talk with Ms. Vanderburg, okay? Thank you. Anything else, Counselor Olson?
Something may come up, but I don't have anything right now.
Okay, thank you. We will now be taking public testimony from those in favor of the applications, followed by those in opposition with concerns, and finally from anyone who is neutral. If anyone wishes to enter an exhibit into the record as part of the testimony, please briefly describe the exhibit and email it to the city address and publish an agenda. And so the folks that have signed up for there's nobody signed up for an affirmative of the street vacation. Is it Peggy Joyce here? Or did you sign up for the street vacation? Oh, that's for psilocybin. Okay, that's a different topic. Okay, anyone in opposition? Please join us. Yes.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes? Is that correct, Sean?
It's 3 minutes for her, but if the council starts asking questions.
We can go longer.
You can go as long
Okay.
as you want it, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I apologize. For one thing, the road is only 20
Please
feet.
state your name.
I'm sorry, Tina Vanderburg.
Thank you very much.
Apologize. Yes, the street is only 20 feet wide, so basically they're going to they'll need to modify the street, so that will actually cut into the front of the area that they said that I'm getting, which I am actually using already, because when I moved into my home, they told me that area was mine to maintain and take care of. So basically, the only thing that I'll be getting is paying taxes on more road or more in front of my house, because I'm already utilizing what they're saying I'm getting, but it will have to cut into actually. So, but the shelter itself said that they were going to remove the trees, that there's nothing in writing saving anything in front of my home, that they will cut the trees down, they'll take the roses out, and I will have to change my address to be on 9th Street, and that I will have to access my driveway from 9th. And this is what I've been told. There has been anything telling me that any contract or anything. And it says right on there, no contract. So basically, there's nothing in writing that states that I will be safe one way or the other. And once the vacation is done and they have jurisdiction, they can do whatever they want to my property that's in front of my house.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Please, Dick Olson.
And who is giving you these directions? The Helping Hands or the city?
Yes.
Is it the city, like Councilor Olson asked?
I'm
Or
sorry?
Is the city or Helping Hands?
No, Helping Hands, someone from there spoke to me and said that was their intention.
Well, Mr. Mayor, can I ask our attorney whether that is a correct thing to do?
Perfect.
That is not the correct thing to do, and they cannot do that. So
That's what I
to
would get.
clarify, and I don't know if I can get David to put that map back up or that photo back up again. Ms. Vandenberg will gain at least 20. In my calculation, if we're going to have 26 down the middle, I think it's going to be 20 on each side, 20 on Helping Hand side, 20 on the property owner side. She'll get an extra 20 feet of property that she can do. I don't want to say whatever she wants. She can't build another house there, but she can use that property for whatever reason she wants. No one, including Helping Hands or anyone else, can go onto that property, cut down trees, cut down bushes or anything else, because that property is hers. That would be trespassing, and it would be a criminal act. Additionally, and this wasn't asked, but I want to go ahead and say it anyway, there's different rules for private property versus public property, and in this area, that's important, because under the Ninth Circuit rulings we've had over the past 4 and 5 years, if there are people who are camping on public property, the city can't just go roll in there and clear that campsite out. It takes a process. If that is on private property, those people will be removed immediately upon the police being called. So actually, there are additional rights that are going to come with those property owners now when they obtain that extra 20 or 30 feet of property that they wouldn't have had if it was public property. So I'm just putting that out there.
Well, our planner has disappeared again, and I'd like to ask him, is that piece of street presently paved that Ms. Vanderburg is going to acquire?
No, the pavement on that street is about 20 feet wide, but that's characteristic of any right-of-way. You have a street that's in between. You'd have, in some cases, when it's improved to city standards, you would have a curb and gutter and sidewalk and a landscape strip, and all of that happens in a 66-foot right-of-way. So you might end up with a street that is fully up to code for the city that's only 30 feet wide.
Okay, so in her case, there won't be curbs or gutters or anything, just a piece of blacktop and then gravel, I would guess.
And
And in
grass,
her yard.
likely,
Grass,
yes.
Okay. But it will be hers, and she can park there, and she can tell people to get off if she wants. Perhaps
that would be
Put up a sign
correct.
that this is my property, please don't park in my yard.
Mhm.
It is part of her yard, I would think.
It would be.
Okay, now do we plan to do any curbs, gutters and stuff on what's left of the street?
No, Helping Hands would be responsible for developing their own access aisle and parking lot on the east side of this right-of-way.
Okay,
So it's not the city's responsibility. It would be up to Helping
you know,
Hands.
yes, but you probably wouldn't initiate it.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question to follow on to Counselor Olson. Will they be using her land to get to their parking lot when they pull in and out?
No, they would be able to share that 26-foot access easement that will be retained, but on her side of the property that would be vacated on her side, there wouldn't be a need for them to trespass over that.
And
I'm
are you done?
No, I'm just looking at the property because I was there. My issue is that if it's going to be face-in parking, they're going to have to loop out probably under her property, or if it's diagonal, they got to back out into her 36 feet or 33 feet. So I'm trying to understand, because that picture, if you look at this property here, you're going to split that street right down the middle, correct?
That's what's currently there, yes, which would coincide pretty well with the 26-foot access easement.
And she would have, was there going to be a fence there, or what is that going to look like?
I don't believe that there's going to be a fence there unless Ms. Vanderburg wanted to put one on her own property.
So is that her fence that we see there?
Yeah, there's the one right here on the left side, yes.
Okay. You can just move that over.
Well, they told me I could extend that, but basically, when I leave my parking driveway, I go into the grass. So if they build parking behind there, it's very limited. That's why the fire department actually cut off the space between there. It said no parking. There's actually no parking signs on the other side restricting people because of the fire trucks not being able to get in there. They said it was too narrow.
How about that, planner? Can fire trucks get in and out?
I can check in with one of our other staff members that might know the answer to that question.
Do we have any fire people here?
No, but we do have Ron Irish available on the call, so if you'd like to ask him, I think he could provide a response to that.
Can you do it, or do I need to do it?
Go ahead, Ron. He's here.
Oh,
Good
there he
evening,
is.
Mayor.
Oh, great.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the Public Works Department posted the parking restriction along the west side, along the Helping Hands property, and it was because we had cars parked in the grassy area that's currently city right-of-way, but they weren't moving, and they were causing problems, essentially camping. And so because it wasn't paved, we posted it as no parking. That also kept the existing paved driveway clear, that 20-foot wide, and 20 feet is enough for the fire department to go down and gain access. When you think about whether or not there's enough room in that 66-foot right-of-way to construct a travel aisle and parking on one side and parking on the other side, it is very similar to a parking lot where we have a travel aisle, a 26-foot set travel aisle is the city standard, with 90-degree parking stalls off of it that are about 18 and a half feet long. Here we will have about 20 feet, so more than that. And we have that on both sides, and that provides ample room to back up. One of the problems that property owners have had in the past regarding backing out of existing spaces is the travel aisle is only 20 feet. And there have been cars parked into and encroaching the paved area. And so there was very tight in terms of backing vehicles out. If it's constructed the way that the vacation is proposed and the way that the Helping Hands Shelter land use was approved, it would very much mimic the city's design standards for a traditional parking lot.
That answer your question?
Well, I guess it would probably be okay then.
Well, my initial talking to the fire department was totally different. They said because it's a dead end, that maneuvering back there was very difficult. And they said, because at the time I spoke to them, there was actually a taxi service back there. And we were having issues with parking. And so he said basically that was an issue with them parking, because even if the seat was wider, there's no room to move back there with cars even in the normal areas.
And no ability to turn around on the
Yeah.
end of the street.
And especially if you need multiple vehicles or whatever. But I measured both areas, and it's also the ground is a ditch, and it retains water very badly. And to build that up, it's going to be steep, and the water drains off. And so it'll have issues with, especially some of the heavier equipment that they have parked back there in the past. You know, they have minivans, they have moving vehicles, other things that they have tried to park back there in the past. This has been an ongoing issue, that they don't use it just for the people there.
So you're not talking about the fire department, you're talking about
No,
people
yeah,
that
no,
are going to
the
Helping
shelter.
Hands and
Yeah, the shelter has a minibus, they've tried to park back there, and other utilitarian vehicles that are quite large. And basically, it's just really not a suitable area for high traffic. I mean, the way that it's constructed is not a high-traffic area.
Okay,
Can I
thank
go-
you.
Can I go, council? Councilor Johnson?
Yeah, Ms. Vanderburg, I want to go back to what you first said about Helping Hands told you all of this stuff, and where they're going to do this and this and this. It seems that, they can't tell you what they're going to do if it's not allowed. So I'm hoping that gets straightened out. But the other question I have is, someone said that if someone is sleeping or doing something on your property, that the police would come immediately and, well, as soon as possible, and remove them. Has that happened to you? Has someone been on your property and you called and not got any results?
Yes. And also, when I said that was an issue with, because once that buffer of green grass has always been kind of a, something that keeps the loitering away and the traffic from the homeless parking in there and otherwise, because when they've attempted to do so, I said, well, this is not part of the shelter, so they leave. But with that not being part of the shelter, the people leave at 5 o'clock, and then people would flood in, and they would flood in during the day as well, because they feel like, well, this is the shelter now, so I can come get lunch, I can do whatever. And basically, it's been an ongoing problem even without the shelter owning it. And I have pictures here if you would like to see some of the lording and the things that I've had to deal with there, because it's been something that I have not been able to stop. And they control things for a little bit, and then things get out of control. So this has not been just a one-time thing. I mean, it's,
Thank you.
but if you'd like to see the pictures of what I have out in the front of my house,
I'd like to see them, Your Honor.
I would,
Is that legal? I have to stay within the rules.
I don't know what the pictures are. I'm a little nervous of having pictures put on the screen.
So,
We have
so
a
let's
few.
do this. Could you please get them to the city clerk? And that way she can submit them to us? Yes.
and when I
Were
told
these,
them,
wait, excuse me, were these photos shown to the planning commission?
No,
They weren't?
no, I just did them today. I just
So
took them.
can you email those to us? Is that legal?
Has she emailed them?
No, can Allison email those to us at some point?
Allison can email them too, yeah.
Yeah,
but that would
Allison
be
can do
after
it.
your
Okay, thank you.
decision, Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, if we extend the hearing and continue it, I mean, we can do that.
That's-
If you voted already, then it won't really matter, but yeah. And just to clarify it too, it sounds like she was having some issues before out there with people sleeping in that. I'm looking at that picture in that grassy area. It's the first time I've seen that picture. So, number one, those trees on the left side of that photograph are going to be her property. They're no
Correct.
one's going to be able to do anything with that. Number two, if people are in that area, whatever they're doing, standing, sleeping, camping, whatever, they will be, Officer Schindel's here, and he can verify that they'll be removed. If she calls the police, they'll come in and they'll remove them immediately, as opposed to when it's public property, it's not as simple, so.
Thank
Well,
you. So I will make sure, I'll make sure that those pictures get to the council.
Well, unfortunately, when I suggested that it'll cause more people to have vagrancy in there, they told me I could fence in my yard, which basically would disallow me using the parking area or my driveway. So basically, once it gets, more chaotic there, I'll have no control over, other than calling the police. I mean, like I said, if you see the pictures, you'll see what I'm saying. And basically, the people even outside the shelter are elderly people laying there. I gave you pictures of a lady that was in a wheelchair for 2 days. I didn't even know it was a human being. And then an ambulance came and took her away. And I thought it was a shopping cart. And it's wrapped up and it was a person. I mean, these are the kind of things, and I've had to guard against it in my own area many times, help people. So,
Well, let me have the rest of the council, because they have questions off the hands up. So I haven't been over here yet. Anyone over here have some questions for Ms. Vandenberg? Counselor Bartholomew is next.
Well, I don't have a question per se, but it seems to me that what I'm understanding from the city, Ms. Vandenberg, is that you'll have more rights with the vacation to your property and to having the security to your property than you have at the current moment, which I think will be to your benefit. And
Well-
I hope that
Yeah.
you have that.
well, unfortunately, I haven't had many rights with the property I already own. I've had so many violations to me and my dog did not eat something that was outside the fence. It was thrown in, and it injured my dog's throat. And I've caught many of them throwing all kinds of bizarre stuff. They're whole bags of clothing, and nothing has helped me so far. So basically, like I said, the only thing that's really given me a break is that that street is not part of the shelter. And maintaining it is very important for me to have my peace. And also, once they do construction on it, it will devastate the whole street. I mean, it will not bear the traffic that street has never had a pothole. But, you don't even see anything. It's never required any maintenance whatsoever.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Counselor Johnson. Right front, over here.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'll just draw your attention to Ron Irish. who
Oh,
has his hand
I'm sorry, Ron Irish, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to very quickly address a concern about fire access. There are fire code requirements about when a turnaround is required. It's dependent upon the length of the dead end. And if the fire department has to go more than 150 feet into a dead end route, then the fire code will require a turnaround. In this case, they don't have to go more than 150 feet. And so a turnaround's not required. If one was required, there's no room to put one in anyway. There's no spot to put it in, as has been pointed out. But the fire code, in this case, because it's short enough, would not require it.
That answers that question. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next thing, if you have time.
I've got a question, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask the attorney, can we see the pictures that she submitted? Do you have an objection to that?
I don't have an objection to it if Allison's looked at them or somebody's looked at them.
I can pass them down the dais as long as they'll get back to me.
That's
to go on
fine.
the
If you,
record.
yeah, that,
Okay.
and if the council's want to look at them individually, then that's okay. I just would caution putting them on the screen without viewing them first, because this is a public hearing and televised, so.
So please understand that we want to make sure we follow the rules of the hearing. So that's why we have to get the city attorney to give us clarification as we do something else. Okay, does that make sense, everyone? Thank you.
A question for Tina.
Yes.
Okay, the pictures that we're going to be seeing, are they recent or some of them old? Or
Yes, no, they're recent.
days?
How
or
recent?
weeks? Yeah.
Well, the one lady was a few months ago.
The lady who's
Yeah,
Par-
a couple of
partially
them,
closed.
yeah. The one was still, I think, maybe March. The one wrapped up, it was still cold in the chair. And the other lady was, I think, a little bit after that. She's came in and out of the area a couple of times. She still lays in the street.
May I ask a question of Ms. Vanderburg?
Sure.
Ms. Vanderburg, did I understand you correctly a while back when we spoke that you have many, many more such pictures and documentation in
Yes,
the
I
12
do.
years that you've lived
I've
there?
recorded them for many years.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry for the graphic nature of a few of them.
You've got my sympathy.
I'm sorry?
You have my sympathy with these.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anybody here from Helping Hands, by the way?
She's going to speak. She's back there.
Okay.
So Mayor, while we had a little downtime while they're viewing the pictures, because of that, I was going to say, if somebody comes up in favor of this vacation now, then they have an opportunity to look at those photos as
Oh,
well.
understood.
It should be okay.
Once the pictures get back, I'll ask the council one more time if there's any questions, and then we'll move on to the next section. I want to thank you for your testimony today. We are taking everything under advisement, and we do appreciate your patience with us. It takes time for processes to get through the city, and especially with hearings like this. And so we're going to move on, but we want to thank you for that, and we'll get your pictures back to you as soon as she sends them to us.
Unnecessary, I do have. But anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And if you have any other questions, please contact me.
Will do. And she has your contact information, correct? I think I still have it. Okay,
Yes, I wrote it on the,
thank you.
thank you.
We will now be taking public testimony from those who did not register to speak beforehand. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. If you are attending in person, if you are attending virtually, please turn on your camera and raise your hand to be called upon. Or if you are attending by phone, please unmute yourself and state your name so you can be called upon. Does any member of the audience wish to speak in favor of the application?
Hello, I'm Emma Dean, Executive Director of Albany Helping Hands. So first, I want to apologize. Tina, any miscommunication, our intent is not to affect her current property or cut down any trees or make any changes to that. The important thing to know is that by vacating this street, it allows us to do a remodel and a small addition to our shelter that will allow us to house the individuals that are along 9th Street that are camping out in our parks and along the road. So currently, Helping Hands is a high barrier shelter. That means you have to be clean and sober, able to follow the rules, and be safe while staying at our shelter as a resident. We are missing a group of people. It is probably the people that you see in those pictures. picture you see right here. We want to create a space to house those individuals, to give them a consistent, safe place to sleep at night, and to give them the best chance. We want to be good neighbors, good community members. We care about our people. We care about 9th Street. You will see us out there cleaning up, staff, our residents, our volunteers, our janitorial crew, going out and cleaning up or calling APD in the city and asking for help. And there's times that it gets out of hand and we can't do it immediately, but we do our best. I want to share that our intent with that parking behind the shelter is that it would be managed similar to how 9th Street is being managed. That is permit parking, and we are handing those permits out to residents that are providing proof of a valid driver's license, insurance, and registration. Without those things, you do not get a permit, and you cannot park on 9th Street without being in violation. So we want to manage that, and I hear Tina's concerns. We leave sometimes. Staff are not there 24/7, but we are on call. I am there at night. I am there on the weekends, offering support, so we will do our best to manage that space and have it be safe and clean. That is part of why we did the permit parking along 9th. It is important to us that we are providing a safe place for our community and the people we're serving. Measure 10 and jail capacity has really affected our people that we're serving and our ability to do our job, just like it is our entire community, and we are working really hard to communicate with APD and work together to problem solve to keep that space clean. Vacating that street allows us to help people, and the concerns that Tina has, it allows us to have more control and more support and help those individuals and provide a safe space.
Thank you. Council, can I ask questions and now we can go to council with this?
Well, is there anybody else that wanted to speak?
Does anyone else like to speak that did not register in support of the vacation? I don't see any other hands.
No, I mean, once we're done with everybody's testimony, then you can close the public hearing and discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Ms. Dean.
Thank you.
We get to ask questions of
No.
her.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, please.
Yes,
Mitchell,
thank you. I have a
Councilwoman.
question. Ms. Dean, did I hear you say that you're there on weekends? You are there?
Yeah, I will be there on weekends. My program manager, I have a property manager that's present 24/7.
Okay, I wouldn't expect you personally to be there 24/7, but I stopped by on Saturday and I asked to see you and they said you weren't there. So I guess that was one of those occasions where you just weren't.
So that's not my scheduled time, but if there is a crisis, an emergency, a concern, things going on, I am on call, and if I'm not available, the next person in charge is on call. So we will go in on the weekends or in the evenings as needed, but it's not our typical scheduled time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Counselor Olson?
What are your normal hours that you're there?
Well, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and
Okay.
we have some other staff that are scheduled different, but we're dealing with people. So
Yes.
I've been there at 1 a.m. It's
I
important to
admire
us
you
that
for
we're,
taking on that job.
thank you.
Yes. And the parking, the part that's vacated, is that going to be a parking lot for the helping hands? And are you going to park them in perpendicular to the building, either back in or front in? How's that going to work?
Not sure exactly how people will be able to park until this is approved and that parking lot is created, but my vision for that is it will be utilized similar to how we're doing permit parking on 9th. So signs will be posted, my hope, and I will work with Chris on that, and that it will be employee parking and managed, or if we have residents that have vehicles and have turned in all of that appropriate paperwork, they would be given a spot to park, but
Okay.
mainly for staff.
And can you police those parking spots and also Ms. Vanderberg's spots if people start parking in her yard? Can you take care of that?
Yeah, so a couple people have touched on, like, when it becomes your property, we have a little bit more jurisdiction. So that's what we really run into, is there places that individuals are spending time and hanging out, and we don't have jurisdiction. We can coach, we can offer help, but we're not law enforcement, and so we're having to call and ask for support. But if it becomes our property, I will be able to ask people to leave that area if that is not where they are supposed to be. And if they refuse to leave, then I could call law enforcement for support and removal.
Okay. And you sympathize with Ms. Vanderburg and her problems, I'm sure.
Absolutely. We want to be good neighbors and answer any questions and help
That
support her
helps
any
so
way.
much if people want to be good neighbors.
Yeah.
Any other counselors have anything? Counselor Johnson?
This has probably already been discussed, but, okay, the property is already there. And if you have a permit, can you not park there now? I mean, just by dividing it, it seems like, okay, you can already park with a permit back there, apparently, is that correct?
No, that's on 9th Street. The road we're seeing that's running in front of Tina's home and the shelter, that's 9th Street. That's where our permit parking is. The Jefferson Street that you're seeing with the grassy area, we don't typically utilize that for parking unless like we've had construction and we've needed to go back to one of our houses and utilize the parking. So we don't typically utilize that for parking, so there's no permits for that street currently.
Why not?
It's not a space that is utilized for parking.
I know, but I mean, it's there, and if you can utilize it and, park perpendicular, it seems like if you can vacate it and park, why can't you use it now in that setting to where you don't have to split it in half?
So if it's vacated, that grassy area, and whoever's in the audience, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, that grassy area will be turned into a parking lot. We will have to have somebody come in and that will be turned into a parking lot, and that's when it would be utilized for parking.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
May I ask a final question?
Please,
I
go
think it's a final question. Where are you parking now, you and your staff?
We park in the parking lot, or we park on 9th Street if we have to. On Jefferson, there are 2 other houses. And so like if we're full, every once in a while, I'll park back there in our parking spaces that are in front of the homes that we own.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other counselor have anything?
Well, I'm confused. I don't see why they don't, why don't you park there behind the building now? Seems like you could.
We're not
maybe
able
gravel it or
to.
something.
There's no parking signs posted
The fire
on
department?
the road, and
By
it's
who?
grassy area.
But it's your property?
No, it's our
And you put
property.
up signs that say no parking?
No, Chris, do you have more information and able to share?
It's our property.
Can Chris come up and share on that if he has the information?
Mr. Mayor,
The hearing
Chris
has-
Schindel explained that earlier about why.
That's our
no-
property, correct?
Why the no parking signs were posted.
Right.
But he can certainly, I think he can certainly explain it again if that's needed.
Counsel, would you like an explanation?
I'd like to hear it.
I'm confused. I'd like to
Okay,
hear
come
it.
up, Officer Schindel.
So while he's walking up here, this is something the city has asked, is that we have more parking, because when we do our remodel and addition, that addition is going to take up part of our parking lot as well.
The addition is going to extend out towards Jefferson
No,
Street?
they're building inside the property, in between the buildings.
So this is kind of a convoluted question, but multi-pronged. So as far as the parking, if looking at it as a private, and I'm stepping on David's toes here, but looking at it as a public street, they would not have the required parking to actually do the expansion of their plan. So as a public street, leaving it and putting it permits, they wouldn't be able to expand, which is what they want to do to have a low barrier shelter. So that's answering that side of it. As far as for the permit side that we just passed, or that you guys just passed, it wasn't in our plan because currently it's no parking based on what has gone on there and what Fire's request was. So I wasn't going to add that to the permit and then allow it, then kind of going against what Fire had. So that's why we didn't allow permit parking on that strip. Plus, we had Miss Vanderburg already parking there. and other private homes using that. So I didn't want to inconvenience them more than having it on 9th and that street. So that's why we stayed away from that area.
So can you tell me where the addition to the building is going to be? Is that behind the building we see in the picture?
It might be helpful to move those slides so you get the plot plan right there.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you make that a little bigger, please? There we go. After 50, everything, the eyes start to go, so.
There.
So it'll be in that space where, right in here is where we will have a small addition, and then this portion of our current building is where our remodel will be. So this is our building too. This is our dormitories, our bathrooms, our laundries, our intake, our property management office. This is our parking lot. This is the smoking area. And then right here, this building is our kitchen and our day room and our staff offices.
Okay, can you show me where Ms. Vanderberg's house is?
Right here.
And that cross-hatched is Jefferson Street?
Yes.
That's correct.
And your additions are going to be in that empty space between the existing buildings? Why do we need to vacate Jefferson Street to do that?
Like I had stated, the
Yeah, I know you've stated stuff.
additional building will trigger additional parking. So they will not be able to build without additional parking. So without the vacating, there is no building.
Okay, so we're vacating and then building parking for them in the space of the vacated Jefferson Street. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and is that going to be back-end parking or front-end parking or parallel parking, or do we know?
This is beyond my pay grade. But
Well, my pay grade's even more than yours, so.
if David wants to come up, but that's ultimately,
Yes,
they're going to have a
Martin, I
plan.
didn't evaporate, there is.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry.
Council,
So,
well, David, can I just say one thing? But we're starting to get a little deep into this. It's a vacation of the right-of-way.
Right.
It really doesn't have anything to do with
With the plot plan,
a
right?
plot plan or construction that's going to have to go back to the city for all of that anyway.
Okay,
I mean, that's,
so-
and so,
Thank you, David. I think we're good.
okay. Let me know if you.
Because there has to go back to planning anyway when they run back to site.
when they go to build, right, they'll have to go
Right.
back to the council.
Right. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Does any member of the audience wish to speak, any other member wish to speak in favor of the application? Does any member of the audience wish to speak in opposition or express concerns about the application? We've heard from Ms. Vandenberg. Anyone else? Thank you. Does any member of the audience wish to speak neutrally of the application? Does the applicant have any rebuttal testimony? Does anyone have procedural questions that would like to raise at this time? If so, please raise your hand. If you are attending in person, if you are attending virtually, please turn on your camera and raise your hand to be called upon. Or if you're attending by phone, please unmute yourself, state your name so you can be called upon.
I have a question, sir.
Let me get down the agenda, we'll have more time to talk about it, okay? A question for who?
Regarding the proposal, the vacation. You asked about procedural, and so that's what
Okay,
triggered a
so
thought
go ahead
in my
and ask the
head.
city attorney.
Thank you. So I guess my first question is this vacation a foregone conclusion? Is that set in stone? Did we?
No, that's what you'll vote on tonight. You can vote yes or no on the vacation tonight. That's what we're doing.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to be clear.
Thank you. I declare the public hearing closed at 7:03 PM. Does the city council wish to discuss the case?
Yes.
Counselor Novak?
First of all, I almost raised my hand when they said, does anyone want to speak neutrally? Although I'm a counselor and I'm not supposed to, that's not my place. So I just want to acknowledge, before I say another word, that this is probably the most difficult situation in our lifetimes, and that there are so many contributing factors to it, chief among them, which we discussed at length Monday night, are decisions coming from Salem. And I will say this, with all due respect to those, especially I would say, I looked into the history of Helping Hands, which I didn't know. I've learned a lot in the last few months, and including how I have a lot of respect for the folks who started this agency to help the pastor and his church. Much, much respect. I have respect for the fact that it's grown over the years. But I have to tell you, my fellow counselors, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, and to the audience, if Salem is going to continue allowing lawlessness, I can't at this time vote for the expansion of Helping Hands. It will increase situations where I have constituents coming to me on almost a daily basis now, not only from Ward 1, but other wards, but especially Ward 1, because of the way things are now. And I speaking on behalf of the people I represent and some of them my own family members who've watched massive changes in their formerly very safe neighborhoods, I know there's a sense in which homelessness has become a business, and until things change, the way things are coming from Salem, it just encourages lawlessness. Just because you have low barrier doesn't mean that people are going to choose to go in. When I went to Helping Hands Saturday, in hopes of having a second tour, I was leaving and a woman flagged me down, and she asked me for help. She had gotten bounced out of Second Chance, and so I went to the person at the desk in Helping Hands and I asked if they were full, and he said no, but he also said they don't do intake on Saturdays. So this woman, Shannon, had five heavy bags and a backpack. And I helped her put them in the back of my car. She asked if I could take her to the train station, and then she asked if I could take her to a hotel, and I couldn't afford a hotel. And she told me she had family in Lebanon, and forgive me the length of this story, but I'm trying to tell you.
You have the floor, Counselor.
Thank you, sir. She had family in Lebanon, and so I called Ms. Vanderburg and asked her to help me out because she has a lot of experience and she knows a lot of people personally. Anyway, when I went in to speak with the gentleman at the desk in Helping Hands, he told me that he had turned Susan, which is not her name, away because she tested positive for a drug. And he said it was similar to Valium or whatever. And so here's me trying to do a good thing, right? And Miss Vanderburg came with me, and we took Shannon to the train station, and she knew her sister-in-law's phone number. So we call and leave a message and say, hey, we're putting her on the bus. It's a free bus, or it cost $1. I could afford $1. I gave her $1 for the bus and a $5 bill because I could afford that. And sadly, I found out later in the afternoon that Shannon's sister-in-law contacted me and said that they could no longer have her in their home because her situation was such that it was not a good influence on their little ones. And they had spent lots and lots of money on lots and lots of hotels, and Shannon gets booted out of all of them, which broke my heart because, you can't even help properly. And And I saw Shannon today when I drove with my sister to LBCC to play pickleball. She was out there on the lawn, and I recognized her. And I'm just, all this to say, my friends, this is a very difficult issue, and I can't, in good conscience, vote for the expansion of Helping Hands while Salem is saying you can't do anything to anyone, and you have people who are in such a bad place that they get booted out of the low barrier shelters. There's no guarantee that if you increase space, I'll tell you what there is a guarantee of, and that is if you provide more service, you will most assuredly attract more people who want to take you up on those services. And we have enough in this town. We have more than enough. And I'm not saying I don't have compassion, but it is getting to where it's downright impossible to maintain compassion when, on one hand, when you have people
Counselor.
contacting you living under lawlessness.
Can we,
So-
so
yes,
thank you.
sir.
You're starting to repeat yourself.
No, sir.
Yeah, you are. I would like the other counselors to have input as well, so please summarize and so we can move on.
That's it.
Thank you. Any other counselors have a comment? Counselor Johnson?
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I know you can't do anything if a homeless person commits crime or whatever, okay, unless we have an open bed for them to go to. We can't shoo them out somewhere. So I was just wondering what the usual capacity percentage is of Helping Hands every day. In other words, do we need more or do we not? I mean, if it's only like 80% pretty much all the time, maybe this isn't needed. I can relate to Counselor Novak, where the more you give, the more they're going to take. And there's nothing we can do. So I just wondered what the percentage is of, not capacity, but people in Helping Hands. If it's only 75, 80%
It's Ms. Dees.
average.
Well, if staff can answer that, that's fine, but we can't, I don't want to,
Yeah, we got,
I was going to say, I don't want to reopen the hearing. If we allow them to come back up and testify again or answer a question, we've got to open the hearing back up again.
thank you.
But I don't know if there's somebody, I don't personally know from what I've been told, they're usually pretty full, so.
Any other counselor? Counselor Kopsinski?
Yes, as what we've already heard, is that they are, Helping Hands is a high barrier shelter. And so what they're trying to do is expand into a low barrier methodology. And I believe that's absolutely needed.
Counselor Olson?
Yes. I'm wondering if Helping Hands attempted, and again, Martineau has evaporated into the back of the room. But I'm wondering, did Helping Hands explore the idea of maybe getting some kind of a variance so they could add on to their building without vacating the street? Does anybody know the answer to that question?
Well, again, we can't, I mean, the person who would know that has already testified, and if we bring them back up here, we're going to have to reopen the hearing again. So I don't know if Mr. Martineau knows that. I actually, he does know. I mean, if they had applied for a variance, he would have brought it before the.
He brought it, yeah.
It seems
For the
like we get
planning commission, so.
variances for this, we get variances for that and the other thing. And I can see some advantages to doing this vacation. And I can see some advantages to Ms. Vanderburg to doing the vacation. But I'm tending to vote no on this until she can see that there is an advantage, and also until we can see what's going to be done. Well, the picture of the street has disappeared. They're showing me no reason for that. But I need more of a plan in order to vote yes on this vacation. I would think if we're vacating the street on the side of the Helping Hands shelter, the plan ought to show how we're going to use that for either parking of the homeless, or parking of the staff, or parking of the public, or whatever. And so I tend to vote no on this vacation.
All right, thank you. Counselor Smith, do you have something?
I do. I appreciate pulling the attention back to the vacation of the street, which is what we're here to discuss and decide this evening. I don't know that we can determine who parks in a parking lot on private property. That's not our role. But I see advantages to vacating the street, both for Ms. Vanderburg and for the other property owners next door. So I would, if it's time to consider the ordinance, I would,
I'll go next. Yeah.
okay?
Okay. So we've heard from everyone that had comment. Did you have anything, Counselor Bartholomew?
Thank you, Mayor. I am seeing benefits to both parties for the vacation. I like the idea that both parties will have more control over their property, and that they will have the opportunity to do things which will benefit their property to the maximum, or to the maximum allowable, which is what seems to be a barrier at the present moment.
Thank you, Council. There's an ordinance for consideration in the council packet. Will the city attorney please read the ordinance in title only?
An ordinance vacating the south 150 feet of Jefferson Street north of 9th Avenue in Albany, Oregon.
Would the council like to make a motion to read the ordinance for the second time?
I would move for second reading.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
I'm going to say no and hold it over till our next meeting, and if somebody wants to make more comment or bring up more questions, they can do it.
And I'm going to vote no too, because I need a little bit more information until the second ordinance is read.
Okay, so we're gonna have to bring this back, correct?
Yep.
What meeting will we bring it back to? The 24th?
It only takes one vote to bring it back.
Yeah, it would come back on the Wednesday night of the
22nd.
22nd?
Oh, no, that
Yeah.
24th.
22nd.
22nd, okay. So it looks like we're gonna have to bring it back. So we made a decision, the city council has appealed. well, has-
24th, for clarification, Mayor.
The 24th, that's what I figured. And so we'll have to bring this back on the 24th. Thank you. That was a long time. The next one is, we did that one. Business from the council, no written materials have been submitted. Oh, business from the public, excuse me. We did have one person. Is there a business from the public over there? I think Mrs. Joyce signed the wrong form. Am I saying your name correctly, Mrs. Joyce? Oh, wow, there's a bunch of them. Okay. Business from the public. Persons wanting to provide comments may submit written comments and register to speak at the city's website before noon of the day of the meeting, or appear in person at the meeting and register to speak with the sign-up sheet. And so I'm going to put your, Mrs. Joyce, on the public speaking. Is that correct? Okay. Let me see, second reading.
And Mayor,
Yes.
a while back in the history of our council meetings, we used to have, it used to say business from the public was for items that were not on the agenda. I don't see that that's on here anymore, but I want to make clear to the public that if they're speaking on anything that's on the agenda and they speak from business from the public, then they get one shot. So they don't get to come up, do it once, turn around, do it again. So if they want to speak on an agenda item, then
They should not speak during
they would
business from the
probably
public.
wait until that item comes up for discussion.
Is that understood? If it's on the agenda and you speak during business from the public, you have one shot, or you can wait till the agenda item comes up.
So basically, portable toilets or psilocybin are the two that are coming up next. So when we get to those items, if they want to speak, then that would be the time probably to do that.
So their items are on the agenda?
Yes, they are. So we had one, two. There's a downtown update, and everything else is one Stephen Draper for inspections. So I'll go ahead and call on Lisa. Lisa? State your name and talk to us, please.
Good evening, Mayor Johnson and council. My name is Lisa Grotto. I'm the executive director of the Albany Downtown Association. I just wanted to give you a quick monthly downtown update. Wanted to let you know that I've got newsletters available for you afterwards. We wanted to thank all of our sponsors for the beautiful downtown hanging baskets, and also a shout out to the council and the city for the support we have from them for watering and other things. Also wanted to point out that the Craft Brew Smackdown is returning on August 19th. That's a fundraiser for Rotary. And that's a kind of like a beer walk, like a wine walk, but there is beer, wine, and distilled products. There's also an article highlighting downtown entertainment from music to theater to trivia. The Carousel will be having their carnival on August 20th. And there's lots of other events that you can look in here. Act Theater is presenting Disney's Frozen Junior, which is the culmination of their youth summer camp. We have one more movie at the park. It is The Dark Crystal. And when I speak about the movies at the park, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Albany Fire and Albany Police for a rescue last Friday night when we were volunteers, and they came and helped put up the movie screen. So again, thank you to the Albany Police Department and Albany Fire Department for the assist. One last thing on my agenda here is that the Garage, formerly known as the Growler Garage, is bringing country star Nate Smith to downtown. That's on September 3rd, and that is being called the Albany Downtown Block Party, and that'll be quite the event in the street. And speaking of events in the streets, there will be a skateboard event this Sunday. So you can look forward to that as well. The people that are putting that on are stoked to skate. Their business is located in the Two Rivers Mall. So I think
you,
that's
Director.
all I have this evening.
Is the skate thing, is that going to be at the skate park or on the street down here?
They took out a permit and they're closing the street on Broad Albin between 2nd and 3rd, and they're bringing in ramps and things in partnership, I believe, with the Boys and Girls Club.
Excellent.
So a lot of interest in that.
Okay, thank you. And the
Thank you very much.
next one is not on the agenda is Mr. Draper. Inspections of 337 and 338 Southeast 6th Street.
Hello, my name's Stephen Draper. I was here about 2 months ago, and I asked for 2 inspections, 337, 338. 337 was raised about 10, 11 years ago. My dad had a heart attack about 15 months after that. I'd like to get those inspections for the fact that they were fraudulent inspections. I have affidavits here. I'd like to hand these out if you want. You can either line your bird cage with them or take a look at them. It doesn't matter. Can I hand them out now?
I'll give them
Give them to the,
to the clerk.
Anyway, I would just like to get those inspections, because you talk about homelessness and stuff, but in one swipe, 7 families were kicked out of apartment buildings that were made into apartment buildings back in World War II to house the troops for Tampa Dare. And my dad bought his in 61, and it helped people. It was a Christian. He let people in without even, any type of security, as long as they go to church with him. He tried to do what he could. Of course, some people take advantage of him. And for this, my dad paid an ultimate price, and my family. Not to mention me, I joined the Marine Corps and the Navy. I sent money home to support my parents for those buildings. I lost every penny besides my father. I want my dad back, but if you can't, I don't want the money back. I just want these people that were involved. I want their names put out in public so they can never hold a position of trust and power again. City council, mayor, or whatever. You know who they are. This thing went down.
the slightest idea.
Pardon?
I haven't the slightest idea. tell you the truth.
Oh, Mr. Olson, you were one of the ones that objected, said that you didn't want my dad's house raised. 337 Dick Draper?
Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I know, like some people, Mr. Hasso, who did do a tour of the house, with the inspection, looked at it and goes, your dad's getting screwed. He goes, this is false. And Randy Pepper, the man that supposedly did the inspection, said, I was at my dad's funeral. They forced me to do it. Hostile work environment. You're fired. You signed it. You're out of here. Anyway, that's all I have to say. If you just give me a little bit of time, help me out there. I won't bother you again. Do whatever I can. But let's help out some people here. Homeless, disabled veterans. I was made homeless in that situation. A sheriff came and pulled me out. And when I walked by Miss, well, I won't say her name, she goes, I told you I'd get you. That was the last thing I heard. But I appreciate everything you did.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just looking. Now, next on the agenda item is second reading of ordinances.
And this might be a good time to have the people who are signed up, if anyone's signed up to talk about portable toilets,
Go ahead and do now.
they come ahead and do that now. For
Okay. Anyone that signed up to talk about the portable toilet discussion? The first one on the list is Chris Bohannon. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay, my name is Chris Bohannon. I currently work for a local company here in town. I've been there 26 years. The company's been in Albany for over 45 years. I think it's 47 this year.
Could you get on the mic, sir? Thanks.
There you go.
Thank you.
But as of today, running a report, there is over 70 customers with units. And that is not just short little weekends. This is month to month. Have had them for years. I know a lot of these have been with us for over 26 years because that's how long I've been there. So this is contractors, roofers, painters, your local fuel station, stuff like that. Their restrooms that they have at their facilities have been destroyed by the lawlessness that we have that's going on. So they put portable toilets out for people to use because it's easier to fix a plastic toilet than it is remodeling a whole restroom. The proposal that you guys are asking is, I don't know, it's almost like you guys are asking for money. That Albany's not getting enough money. We got to dig down deep and let's hit the lowest part. Every person that has a portable toilet longer than 4 days now has to get a permit. They have to hide the restroom or build a fence around it. This is all extra cost to all the contractors and everybody else. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows the price of fencing and all that stuff. That's an additional $100 and some bucks at least. There's nothing in here that discusses how these structures are to be built or anything like that. So people are walking by or driving by with a car and we have a nice, wonderful stormy day. Somebody gets hit. Who's at fault for that? There's no standards for that. Most of these employers that have these toilets on site are to help their employees. They don't want the employee walking 5-10 minutes to get to the main office where the bathroom is, and they're covered in metal or wood or whatever that messes up the bathroom. You have to take a pressure washer to this stuff to get it off. Well, you can't do that in the bathroom, so now you have to redo the whole entire bathroom. So you're putting a hurt on the employers, the employees. Our company cleans and sanitizes every single unit. Every single unit that we have out is serviced on a regular basis. So I'm running out of time, so I'll just get to it. I hope you guys don't pass this. This is kind of a joke. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we have a couple more for portable potties, and I'd like to hear from Director Bailey if she's still in the house. So let me get to the next person, Brad Wilson. Thank you, Brad. Mr. Wilson.
My name is Brad Wilson. I own the Bark Place here in town. I own Better Portable Toilets. I'm currently vice chair of the Greater Albany Public School Board. Been in town for a long time. And I have no idea what problem we are trying to solve with this stupid portable toilet ordinance. I, like Best Pots, have a lot of toilets around town. What are the trucking companies going to do when their guys have been in the truck all day, they park in their lots, and they need to use the restroom and they've got a long walk because you got a lot of big trucking companies that park out there? What about the industries that have to have convenience restrooms out their plants? National Frozen Foods, what are they going to do? Oregon Freeze Dried, what are they going to do? Make all their employees go inside? They're going to stop production so they can have a bathroom break? This is not well thought out. When Timberland got vandalized a couple years ago to the tune of about $100,000, their bathrooms, what did they do? They brought in portable toilets. When COVID hit, the city shut down every single flush bathroom in the parks. What did they do? They brought in portable toilets. It absolutely floors me that you have exempted the city from all of this criteria, yet you're putting this onerous burden on me and between me and my customers on private ground. At the Bark Place, I provide a portable toilet for the landscapers who are out there. So when they get the materials and before they go out to each one of your yards to work on it, they can go to the bathroom in my portable toilet, not in your yard. When you pass this Helping Hands thing, and I think the plan is to do so, you're going to bring in more low barrier, which means more active drug users into our town, because once you build it, they will come. And where do you think those people, when they disperse, are going to go to the bathroom? They're going to go in front of people's businesses, on their ground, on private property, because it's a biological fact. It is not going to be turned off. People do it. You cannot stop it. We can't even take our portable toilet waste to the City of Albany sewer. We have to truck it to Eugene or Salem because your plant is insufficient. They will not let us go in. And so you're trying to get more effluent into your sewer system that is already over capacity. That's why they sued Siemens and got $10 million because the plant doesn't work. So we are solving that problem by taking this waste and trucking it. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. I would like to hear, is Director Bailey here? I'd like to hear from our director, Public Works Director.
Do you want me to leave?
Go ahead and sit, and we have questions, we'll come back. We'll bring you back. No, go ahead and have a seat, and if we have questions, we'll bring you back. Good evening, Director. Good to see you again.
Hi. Well, so I don't think there's any argument that there are very good times and places to use portable toilets. That's not the intent of the code amendment. The request from the city council was to broaden the code so that more uses of portable toilets would be legal under the Albany Municipal Code. Right now, the Albany Municipal Code requires portable toilets to be used by during construction, and essentially the permit that authorizes that portable toilet use is the building permit that is issued, and the contractor is required to provide those facilities for their employee. There are no other legal uses of portable toilets for any long-term use other than short-term use for short events or emergency situations. So the council asked us to expand the code to allow more use of portable toilets, and that's what we've attempted to do. If you have specific changes you'd like to see to the code, in response to any of the concerns that people are bringing up. I'm happy to hear them. But what we've done is what we think met the intention of the council. As for the assertion that a screening requirement would create a hazard or some sort of burden, it's very common in cities across the country that have allowances for portable toilets to have a requirement for some sort of screening mechanism, whether that's vegetation or a constructed fence. If the portable toilet is placed behind a fence so it's not in view, then that would meet the requirements. Trying to remember some of the other issues that were brought up. It's true, we do not allow septage at the Albany wastewater treatment plant. We haven't allowed septage for many, many years. And that's just because septage is very difficult. It can upset the process, and we don't like it. So we did not allow that at our treatment plant. If you have other specific questions, I'm happy to answer
So,
them.
go ahead, Counselor Olson. I do have questions myself as well.
The ordinance we're considering, that doesn't have anything to do with contractors and the portable toilets that they put up on the building site, does it?
No, the
We
code
don't
that,
need fences, we don't need
that's
all
right.
this stuff. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about why we're doing this. The church, what do they call themselves? They used to be a congregation.
First Christian.
Okay, Christian church. They see the need for the unhoused public to relieve themselves, let's say, someplace other than any place in public, on streets, in storefronts or whatever. And so they're providing a portable toilet at their church. And they're breaking the law, and we wanted to keep them to be law-abiding citizens. And so we're making a modification in our ordinance so that they can do that. And if we're making it difficult for contractors to do a similar thing, which I don't think we are, I'm glad to hear it, and I think we need to make adjustments for it. But Chris here says we're not, it doesn't affect the contractors and so forth. So
Right, there's a separate section of code that,
you don't need fences, don't need.
right, it just
shielding.
requires that the construction contractors that are doing work under a construction,
Same
their
old
construction
thing.
business are not changed. That code language isn't changed at all.
Yeah.
So Counselor Novak first, and then Counselor Smith.
Thank you. So am I understanding you correctly that the business that these two gentlemen spoke about, that they operate, is not hindered by this ordinance and this new public nuisance thing added to our code? Their work and the people that use their portable toilets aren't going to have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops? They can go on with business as usual?
I don't know a whole lot about their businesses, but
They're in the
if
public
their business-
portable toilet business.
right, I understand that. There shouldn't be any change to, if I am a customer and I need to use a portable toilet, I can call whichever company I want and have one delivered. It's my responsibility as the person placing the portable toilet on my property to make sure I comply with the new code. So for instance, if it's a short-term event, then they just come and place it, and then they come and pick it up and carry it away. If it's a longer-term use, for instance, we had a request from a nursery to have a portable toilet for the summer season for their employees. Well, then they would have to get a permit so that we can track that, and we make sure that we know that that portable toilet is out there. Right now, that company cannot have a portable toilet legally
With
under the
current
code.
With the current code.
Right, with the current code. So I don't know how it would affect the portable toilet provider. The onus is on the person placing the portable toilet on their property to comply with the code.
There was just one thing that's in there. You said there's no reason for a long-term toilet. That is false.
So let me get to the officer, the code compliance officer.
I just wanted to reiterate, maybe it's a little more plain speak to say that he may say he has 70 customers. I don't know how many customers the other gentleman has. With our current code, I would bet that over half of those are in violation of the code. We have not gone out and gone after those currently because we've been looking at doing this code. So he, in essence, probably most of those customers are violating our current code. So we will need something if you want to keep that going.
Use the mic. Use the mic, please.
Sorry. So in essence, I'm assuming most of his customers currently are violating our municipal code. So we would need to change the code, and that's what, as Director Bailey said, the hopes of this code is to allow that in more areas.
So it brings more porta potties into compliance.
It would, yes.
Sir, may I continue my line
Yes, go
of
ahead.
questioning? Thank you, because I don't know if I just need more clarification or what, but I heard both of those gentlemen say that they've been in the porta potty business for many, many years, and some of their clientele have used their porta potties for years, literally decades. And so, Officer Schindel, you're telling me that you will spend your time going to porta potty businesses and porta potty customers and enforcing compliance on them, where we have people who are living under trees and bushes and camped out in the river. But we're gonna spend our time enforcing porta potty business that isn't in compliance with the new code and making sure that everybody who's been using those potties for the last 2 decades or 3 decades builds the little fence around it and does everything according to these newly developed regulations and pays their fee every 90 days. We have time for that, but we don't have time for the issues of the people on the streets and how that impacts our law-abiding citizens in terms of compliance,
So I'm
in
gonna
terms of
start.
prioritizing.
Okay, I'll start and then Chris can pick up. There are many, many ways that a person can violate the municipal code and that would be classified as a nuisance. There's a laundry list. Typically, the way we respond to those is on a complaint basis because we don't have time to go out and micromanage every individual property, and no one wants to live under a system that does that, and that's not our approach. So a code violation could be a noise complaint, it could be litter, it could be too much debris, it could be a building too close to a property line, it could be the use of a porta potty, which is not currently allowed. There's a bunch, and the way we deal with those is primarily on a complaint basis. So I don't think that the emphasis here is on we're going to go out and inspect every property in town and demand to see their porta potty permit. But if we get a complaint that there's a portable toilet that is creating a nuisance, it's leaving odors, it's creating an attractive nuisance, then the police department would respond to that. The police department is, especially the code compliance section, which you're looking at, is well overtasked. So that's not the intention. However, you cannot give a blank check to people and say, at your free will, place a portable toilet wherever you want. Because despite the best efforts of everyone who has good intentions, portable toilets can become a nuisance. And so we want to place some guardrails around that use, and that's what the code amendments are intended to do.
And I appreciate that. I would just say that I could see developing a special nuisance code if we were being overwhelmed with calls about porta potties that stink or have Or, are we getting, how many calls are we getting about porta potties
So-
being a nuisance? I mean,
We're getting way off topic, way off topic. The code changes they're recommending is going to allow legal compliance with the new code. Right now, they're not compliant. So if he went out, he'd have to file a violation. We're removing that stigma. He's going to be able to leave those people alone. If he gets a complaint, or they have a permit, it's legal.
So as
You're
long
going-
as-
We're getting way, way off topic. You're attacking an issue that we're not even discussing. It's the current code, those toilet porta potties are not compliant.
maybe I'm not making myself clear to you, sir, but
But you're not making yourself, you're ranting about,
I'm not ranting.
yes, you are. You're
No,
ranting-
sir, I'm
You're
not.
ranting about homelessness, his time. The code today we're discussing is letting the current porta potties be compliant with our new code. That's all they're doing. They're not costing any more money. They're not burdening them with anything. We're getting way off topic. And so I think, does everybody understand what we're trying to do here?
I spoke
So
out of
making-
concern for those businessmen.
I'll give one example. So for UND Nursery, I did go talk to them because of, well, the food trucks came up, and within that, the conversations happened. And some of the food trucks started pointing out other businesses that had them when they weren't allowed to. My comments to UND Nursery, who I know has had it for a long time, is, sorry, there's no path for you to have one. Get rid of it. That's what this code is hoping to get rid of, is to allow that path.
So it opens a pathway, right?
Yeah.
I
With
need,
their new ordinance, will they have the path?
yes. So I need to take a bio break. I've been up since 5 a.m. and I apologize, but let's take 5 minutes and come back to the meeting. code. We're waiting for Counselor Johnson. She's not back yet. As soon as Counselor Johnson's back, we'll go ahead and start. You better come on. Mess with my emotions. Okay, so we're going to continue the conversation regarding the code. I think there was a question before we took the break. I think it was Counselor Smith. Go ahead and re-ask the question so we can address it.
Question for Director Bailey. Circling back to the statement about the treatment plant not taking this material, that predates the opening of the new treatment plant in 2009. Is that correct?
Yeah, we haven't accepted septage for a long, long time, and it has nothing to do with the lawsuit. It didn't factor at all.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Yeah. Did you try these ordinances out on the suppliers of portable toilets before you brought it to us? See if they had any concerns about toilets that are, what is the short-term use? The time that it takes to build a house, or how do you figure that?
So in the code language, well, to answer your first question, no, I did not consult with the portable toilet companies. In the code, we defined a short-term use as, I think, 4 days or less for a short event. And then long-term use would be up to 90 days. And then after 90 days, they would need to resubmit for another permit. But again, regarding construction, that has nothing to do with that. The construction requirement for a portable toilet is in a different section of the code.
Oh, okay.
So the question I have, and it's been running around my head since we started this discussion, what is the cost of a permit for the 90 days?
Oh, I think we talked this last time a little bit. We haven't set a permit fee yet. We would have to come back to the council to set a fee because there's currently not one on the Public Works fee schedule. So our small permits, like an encroachment permit, I believe is $30, but it would be up to the council to tell us what you would approve as a fee. We would propose a fee, and then you can, just like we're doing now, discuss that and direct us.
So this is just one piece of it, and then we have to come back with, if we do
Right,
approve
we'd
it.
have to set up the permitting mechanism.
Okay. Any other councilors have questions?
I have a comment. I'm wondering if anyone is aware that most of the schools have public toilets in place in their athletic fields year-round. Are you aware of that? And how does that fit into this code?
Well, they would have to be treated just like any other property. They would have to come in and say, we need a portable toilet for 90 days and tell us that they need that. Again, so I'll just say this, that if you don't like the code language, please suggest something that you would like to see differently in the code language. I mean, the code language is a starting point, and if the council finds it objectionable, then this is your time to tell us and to suggest something else.
Yes, and that's why I hesitate to rush through this and not discuss it fairly thoroughly. And I see a difference between a portable toilet sitting by a church where the public goes by every day, and there's problems, visual problems, there's odor problems and so forth, or a business that has some kind of a messy business where there may be turnings from machines and so forth, and the guys doing the work don't necessarily want to go into the office and track all that stuff in there with them. And it's a lot safer, easier to have a portable toilet outside that employees can use, and it's on company property. It's not visible from the street. It's, well, the company's probably generating a certain amount of smoke or exhaust or whatever anyway. And the employees don't complain. I think there's a difference between those two. And apparently, does our present ordinance allow for a difference between those two? Or does the industrial guy have to have it closed in, have it this? I can't remember all the regulations that
Sure.
we're putting on that portable.
Well, I think one thing we might be able to see if we can change language is to differentiate between portable toilets that are intended for public use versus a private use.
Yeah,
So a private industry, most of those places would have their own ability to secure a portable. Not really concerned about National Frozen or a lumber yard or whatever. It's more about the access to portable toilets that can become a nuisance and be mistreated, and we want to try to manage that as much as we can.
Thank you.
Well, maybe it would be instructional to talk to some of the industrial guys that feel it's handier to have a portable toilet rather than try and build outside toilets that are connected to the sewer system and all that stuff.
So, Counselor,
I know it's time-consuming and probably annoying, but might help in the long run.
Counselor Kopsinski?
Yes. We gave you a very unenviable task, let's put it that way, to try and craft an ordinance. You've done a yeoman's job. I'm trying to do so. Personally, from my just perverse logic, whatever you want to call it, I think we've crafted an ordinance or proposed ordinance the way it stands to use a sledgehammer to swat a fly, in that I don't think there's going to be a large number of people applying for porta potty uses on private property, whatever. And the original intent for like First Christian Church, I think, was a very, very admirable one. And I have not heard of a single complaint of that one being there. And it's done well. I think you would get, again, if I had my way, it's not going to happen. It would be open to any private person that wanted to have a rented, leased porta potty on their private property. The city is not involved with it whatsoever. There's no issues with it whatsoever. It's up to the person who owns the property. And I don't think you're going to get, 75 people applying for porta potties. So I think it's a solution in search of a problem at this point. And notwithstanding all the hard work you've put into it, which I applaud you for having to wade through that. Thank you.
Sir.
Counselor Johnson was next.
Okay. Can't remember which was on. Okay. Counselor Olson and Counselor Kopsinski hit the nail on the head. And Chris, I know you've done a lot of work on this. And it's kind of like we 7 ideas is what we have of what this is supposed to be. But I think Ray hit it pretty good. Like, say, if somebody has a business, okay, so like the mayor, he has a business, but it's different from being outside and having a yard and having people deliver stuff and whatever. So I want to use the example of the Bark Place. They have deliveries, you have people going to buy things, and I think it's a good thing. So I think that might be the clue right there, is that let private businesses, if they need them, nobody's going to want an ugly porta potty on their property if they don't need it. But that way their employees or their customers have somewhere to go without having to go into the office, drag the mud in and whatever. And as far as the permit, I wouldn't want to do anything until we learn what the permit amount is, if we do that. But if there's private property that has had them, they pay for them, they take care of them, it just seems like, for one thing, every 90 days is just a lot. Staff doesn't need to check up on them every 30 days. You know, maybe yearly or something like that, but I don't know if they even need a permit. You know, like if we still had our business and we had a yard and we had employees and stuff, that sure would be a lot easier than letting them come into the office or into the, you know, house. I mean, I know quite a few businesses around town that do have them. Haven't said anything because they don't bother anybody. So I'm thinking that we just need to not vote on this tonight and carry it on for, I know, Chris, I know I can see it. Like, I don't want to do this again. Yeah.
Just to save Director Bailey from continuing to talk, I think it would be important, instead of bringing it back, to give direction to us on what you want to see, so that we could bring something back that's more attuned to what you guys want.
Well, see, and that's what I'm thinking, that we actually have a work session that discusses the different ideas that we want.
The other thing I'd like to emphasize is something that came up last time, which is we need to have a code that treats all entities within a category similarly. So for instance, you know, you can't really say that private property X is allowed, but private property Y is not, because, you know, for instance, we'll let the church have it because we know they take care of it, but, you know, we're not going to allow any other uses. So it needs to be, the code, it's really hard to write code. And Sean can probably talk more about this than I can, that is going to accomplish what you want to accomplish and still be legal and enforceable. So I'll just leave it at that.
No, I appreciate that. And yeah, it is, we gave you just an unimaginable task. And I know every time we call you up, it's like, I know that smile.
Well, if you have, like, you know, suggestions of that can more sort narrowly focus the task, then that would be helpful. So the one I heard so far is industrial or commercial use for employees only. Maybe we could find a way to carve that out.
Yeah, and just real quick, how about asking the two gentlemen that testified to talk?
As a business owner that has actually used Bark Place and UND Nursery, I personally, as a business owner myself, know what it costs to run a business. So I wouldn't have a problem as a business owner with UND Nursery having a porta potty, and there'll be, 96 months with a cost to it. I think that's burdensome because they're already paying X amount of dollars per month. That's my issue. I mean, why would we tack on more fees to people who are trying to raise taxes, pay taxes, and employ people? So maybe we could look at what we're doing for industrial businesses, commercial, like UND Nursery, like Bark Place, and those places, because it does, for me, become burdensome as a business owner. Now, my business is insurance. I have 2 bathrooms, I pay for that. But a business like Bark Place, I've been out there before, and I have allergies, and I've sneezed and used the porta potty and things like that. So I think we should come back with something that makes it clear for businesses. That's my 2 cents. And Councilor Novak?
Yes, I would like to add that as a person who is in business, if, for instance, the city was going to create an ordinance affecting restaurants, I would hope with all my heart that the city would come to restaurant owners and get our input. And I think that is a piece of the puzzle that was missing here. And I recognize the hard work along with everyone else that goes into writing a code, but I think we missed a majorly important piece, and that is something that we do very much need to do, is to consider people who are in that business and get their input. And I would agree with the mayor that especially in these times when the price of everything is going up, taxes are going up. If we have to have a fee at all, and I hope we don't, I would have it be something like 25 cents.
Well, just on that note, the purpose of a permit fee is to try, staff processes these things and their time has value and we have to pay them. So usually our minor fees are set at a small amount to try to recoup some of the cost of the staff time to process the fee. You can tell us you don't want us to collect any money for that, and that's fine, but then their time is just subsidized by something else.
But as you mentioned earlier, Director Bailey, if we did this on a nuisance basis and you were only going after, Officer Schindell's time was only going to people who were reporting a nuisance, and we just did our business as usual, we wouldn't need the code or the fees or the increased workload on staff. I'm hopeful.
That's what the current code is.
Yes.
That's how the current code is written.
Yes. And I don't
And
take
I'm
issue
fine
with
if you
that.
want to leave the current code the way it is. I would have no problem with that. I'll just
so-
shred all of this and go off into the sunset.
So I would like to go ahead and call for the reading, the second reading of the ordinance. City Attorney, please read the ordinance the second time. Yes.
An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, Chapter
We're past that.
7.84, public nuisances by adding a new section titled 7.84095, portable toilets.
Could I ask a question? Is this a first reading?
This
or
is
a
the second reading.
This is the second reading.
Second reading.
Second
Because
reading.
last meeting, you voted no. So would the council like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Not me.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
the council needs to take some kind of action on this ordinance, and what they can do is, someone can move to adopt the ordinance, and they
someone
can all vote it down.
Right.
And that will dispose of it.
Right. So would the council like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to vote on the ordinance, yea or nay.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
Motion fails.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Technically, you just voted to defeat a motion to vote on the ordinance.
That's what
I think you really need to state motion to adopt the
Okay.
ordinance and then vote.
I did say that, though.
I think we could go either way.
Oh, she didn't
We
say
could
it.
do a motion to not adopt it.
Okay, so I'll maintain low tones.
Can I have a second chance?
Yes. Would a council like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I would like to make a motion to not adopt the ordinance.
Seconded.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 This is where a yes is a no.
Yep.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, motion fails, or the motion passes.
Motion passed to not adopt.
To
Not to adopt it.
Yes. So
But
I'm
we've
never,
already-
it's really weird voting no to say yes.
It is. So let's just go ahead while we're on and do the second one the same way, because this is the same
Okay,
ordinance, okay.
so the same ordinance, the city attorney, amend AMC 90-0.030, maintenance of property ordinance. City attorney reads the ordinance the second time in title only. The ordinance is now on the table for discussion.
All right, and I'm going to read it the second time.
Okay?
An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, Chapter 9.04, maintenance of property.
Would the council like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I would make a motion to not adopt the ordinance.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
All right.
Motion failed, but passes, does not adopt.
All right.
Thank you.
This leaves the Christians
So,
outside the law oftentimes. Is that right?
So,
So-
Mayor,
We'll tolerate.
we could give them direction to bring back with the,
yeah, you could do that at a different, I mean, if you do it now or at a different meeting, but yeah. So, I mean, I don't know that you're going to be able to give her, I think this would be something that if it's going to be worthwhile to do at a work session where we can actually discuss what she wants
let's,
in that.
let's bring it back to the next work session, Peter. Is that possible? Thank you. Thank you, Director.
And invite interested parties. which
So,
we
so,
do anyway.
so counselors, please invite your interested parties so we can have that discussion. I really like when you reach out and talk to your constituents. Yes.
Some people weren't given a chance to testify before you had to.
No, for the, we voted no for both
For
of
the
them.
porta potty?
So the porta potty voted no for both of them. That's what they wanted. There was nobody that voted affirmative for it.
But wasn't there another person signed up to speak on that?
No, he did not show up. This person did not show up for the meeting. The virtual person did not show up.
And so, Mayor, this would be a good time to have people that are going to talk on the psilocybin. That's the only thing left that
Correct.
is from the public, so.
So next on the agenda is the psilocybin ordinances. So those in favor, well, those that signed up to speak will be Patrick. I cannot read your name. Winchesky, Ethel Ellingston, Janice Brown. And it's okay. This is for psilocybin. And the next one, and Peggy Joyce is also signed up. What's your name? Ethel Ellingston signed up for church porta potty. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that on there. So we voted it down. We're going to bring it back to the next meeting, okay?
Well, we can hear what she has to say.
Okay, please come up, please then. I apologize, I missed it on here. Please state your name.
I'm Ethel Ellingson, and I'm a member of the First Christian Church that houses the beloved porta potty. And first of all, I want to say I'm just amazed and honored to be part of the church that caused all of this conflab about the porta potty. I'm just amazed. And the second, is it okay if I address one of the counselors?
Sure.
And Counselor Olson, I'd like to know when was the last time you walked by and smelled an odor at the First Christian Church porta potty?
I never have.
Right.
No.
And so there
And I
is no
think your
order.
porta potty is an excellent thing to have there.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then the next thing I wanted to talk, I did want to mention about the permit, the 90-day permit being a burden, but I won't go into that. And, but the next thing is about the fence around a porta potty. That most porta potties are, that's what they are, and everybody knows it. A fence can be used as an opportunity to hide activities that may not be acceptable. With a porta potty that is out in the open, everybody knows what's going on. And that's what it's there for. And I can't see any reason for a fence to be around any porta potty. And this porta potty plays a unique humanitarian role in the community. It plays a role to keep the dignity of our friends lacking access to these facilities, and of the jogger going by, and the occasional postal worker, and of the family with small children. It helps to keep our city clean. And so I just want to say that again, so that when you go back into discussion, you'll remember why the porta potty is there.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. So as you recall, 3 years ago when this came up, I voted for putting that porta potty there. So I'm all about dignity and respect, so I appreciate your comments. Okay, next is on the agenda is the psilocybin ordinances. And I have Patrick Wisnowski and Wilczewski, I'm sorry, Janice Brown and Peggy Joyce signed up. So 3 minutes, sir, and then we'll get everybody through and then we'll have discussion.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Winchesky. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Today, I actually want to talk about addiction. It's obvious it's fresh on all of our minds, given the topics tonight. Cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, of course, fentanyl, and also things like nicotine and alcohol. In Oregon today, nearly 700,000 people age 18 and older are estimated to struggle with addiction. Our state ranked second worst for its rate of substance use disorder. And what's worse, according to the U.S. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the state of Oregon ranked dead last in the nation for its access to drug and alcohol treatment. Meanwhile, the rise of fentanyl across the state is making addiction deadlier. According to the CDC, overdose deaths in Oregon rose 41% compared to the nationwide increase of 16. These are 2020 numbers. Right now, for addiction treatment, there are essentially 3 routes you can take: support groups, behavioral therapy, and pharmacotherapy. There is another. Psilocybin has been clinically proven effective and is considered a breakthrough therapy technique for addiction recovery. I have 7 articles here to back that up. Psilocybin is not a suppressant like most of the other treatment options. It resets your brain and allows you a fresh perspective, getting you out of the psychological rut where addiction thrives. For this same reason, psilocybin shows more high promise in helping those suffering from depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD, and end-of-life anxiety. We know addiction is bad. People are dying, and in Oregon, we have failed again and again to support those who need it. Psilocybin is a real solution to our addiction problem, not just another Band-Aid. To consider putting a moratorium on psilocybin would not only put a pause on the guaranteed economic boost psilocybin will bring to our city, but also put a pause on the mental health of hundreds of families in our community. The healing process is a slow one, you guys. I'm not here today to unravel decades of mushroom stigma. I'm here because I want to do the work. I want our community to begin the healing process, and I hope that you, our city council, realize that we can do better. Your decision tonight will show your readiness to support our community's mental health, and I hope that you have the courage to take an actual step forward towards our goal of mitigating the current drug epidemic. The world is watching. Now is not the time to shy away and see how it goes. Let's put our best foot forward and show the rest of Oregon that we are serious about the mental health of our community. Now is the time to get out of last place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Janice Brown on the speakers list. Ms. Brown.
Hello, my name is Janice Brown, and I would like to speak against the ban on psilocybin therapy. I know many of you, and for those who don't know me, I am a responsible citizen. I pay my taxes, I go to River Rhythms, I volunteer, I generally stay out of trouble. And so I'm the type of person that Albany wants to attract. I believe that psilocybin therapy is beneficial for many reasons. One of those is that it's safe. Another is that it's effective, which is what the previous speaker spoke about. And the third distinction I'd like to make is that it's very different from recreational drug use. The therapeutic drug use is a different experience altogether. In October of 21, I went to New York City and participated in psilocybin therapy. And I sent y'all an email a little bit about that. Overall, I would describe that experience as very beneficial. It was, in a word, it was blissful and peaceful. And I came away with some changed behaviors. For one thing, I stopped taking antidepressants, which is a godsend. I never liked that. Another thing, I have just found that my life just feels a lot better. I'm more peaceful. It's easier for me to forgive, not only other people, but myself, less judgmental. And I credit a lot of that with a spiritual experience I had during the psilocybin therapy. I think it's a wonderful thing. Who doesn't want those things? And especially for people in the categories that our previous speakers spoke about, with PTSD and end-of-life anxiety, there are really proven results with that. One thing I would like to show is the distinction between recreational and therapeutic modalities. Recreational, it's public, it's with other people, it's active, it's energetic. With the therapy, my experience was that I was lying on the floor on a mat for 7 hours with my eyes closed. You know, a passerby would, it's very internal. It's very introspective. It's the polar opposite of being dangerous, you know, or being something that is offensive to other people. I'm available for questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next speaker, and then we'll do that. Thank you. Peggy? Joyce?
Excuse me while I arm wrestle this chair. There've been so many people in this chair. I've missed not being around city council work. This is really great. I just love this. It's the public square. I'm Peggy Joyce, and I don't live in the city of Albany, but I do live in North Albany. And I would like to speak on behalf of leaving the psilocybin process to work itself through the public health at the state level, the local level. Let's get a program in place, because to not do that is, and I totally agree with the two speakers that preceded me, we are wasting a precious opportunity that we desperately need to help people who have not found help anywhere else and who are desperate. We shouldn't have to have that problem, but we do. If we lived back in the times when there weren't so many people and we lived in small little tribal groups where we all helped each other and had our ceremonies with our sacred materials, we wouldn't be having this discussion now. But we don't live like that anymore. But people still want to be loved. They still want to think that their lives are worth living. They still want to be connected with other people. And this is one way to accomplish that. This is not a drug that you will buy on the street. This is a very serious pharmaceutical drug that is used under professional conditions and should be used under professional conditions. Read the book by, and I can't think of what his name is, but it's all about set and setting. In other words, the person using this substance has to be aware of what is going to happen and understand what the issues are that they want to deal with when they ingest this. The setting is the professional person who is there to be with them the entire time of that drug being in their system. How do I know so much about this? I bet you want to know. I have taken the drug. It is a very, very powerful way to touch the untouchable, to approach the mystery that we all want to know an answer to. And guess what? The answer isn't out there. It's in here. And we really ought to offer people the opportunity to discover that in here place. Now, the voters have already said what they want Oregon to do about dealing with psilocybin. I think for local groups to come in and to second guess that decision that was made by the voters is really disrespectful to the nth degree.
Thank you very much, Peggy. Thank you. Michael Pollard.
Is it,
How to Change Your Mind is the name of the book.
So,
is it possible to ask a question? Or no?
well, we have discussion after this, so,
Okay.
okay. So city attorney reads the ordinance for the second time in title only. The ordinance is now on the table for discussion. There we go.
All right, so I read a letter earlier, and forgive me, ladies, I can't remember which of you emailed us. Thank you. I believe I read that you had said that it's not a pharmaceutical, and then you just said it is pharmaceutical. Yeah.
That's a figure of speech.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So it doesn't have any, my question is rooted in, it doesn't have anything to do with the pharmaceutical companies that are pushing all kinds of things on all kinds of people. It's not that. Thank you so much. That's, okay, thank you. But I just wanted to make sure whether that industry is involved in this in any way. Yeah.
So that's your question? You
Yes.
got it? Okay, thank you. Counselor Olson?
Yes, I think the attorney needs to remind us what a yes vote means, what a no vote means. Now, I'm thinking that a yes vote means we're going to put a moratorium on it. We're not going to allow
Right.
any psilocybin or any of that kind of stuff
Correct.
in our,
A no vote allows it.
in our Blue Nose City.
So when I
And
read,
a no vote means that we go with what the voters said when we had the election.
yep, that's
And practitioners can be here and do their thing for the meantime. Is that right?
So does that make
correct.
sense?
The yes vote will be in favor of a 2-year moratorium, and a no vote will be against a moratorium. Going to the ballot, right? Peter.
So a no vote
Going to the
will
ballot.
send it back to the ballot or not send it to the ballot?
Every,
They both
so
go.
if we vote yes tonight on this ordinance, we are voting to send this to the voters in November. If we vote no tonight, we're voting to not send it to the voters in November and do nothing. And that way they would open up, they could open up facilities in January.
So the question I have for Counselor Kopsinski.
Yes, I was very pleased to read that the city across the river, Corvallis, basically just said, okay, we're going to do it with rules, with regulations and time, place, and manner, which I think is very apropos. So, you know, I think is definitely the right thing to do. You know, because I questioned at the work session, you know, how did we get to 2 years versus a 1 year? And knowing full well that we could automatically, you know, within a year's time, you know, take a look at it. I think definitely within a year's time, we will know one way or the other whether or not it's going to happen, and I'll put it on my calendar. At a year from now, I'm going to bring it back. And if there's nothing happening in Corvallis or around the state, I said, you know, it should be rescinded that fast.
So as Counselor Kopsinski was saying, when we get to the 12-month mark, we can bring it back and rescind the ban?
I didn't hear the very first part of it, but I think you're asking, can the council rescind the ban once? So if the voters approve a ban in November, and that ban will go into effect immediately, at any time after that, the city council can repeal the ordinance, basically ending the ban, and they do not have to go back to the voters to do that.
But you probably wouldn't be very popular with it.
To undo a ban?
Yeah.
I guess it would depend on how the vote went in November. I don't know, so.
Because they can vote the ban out, right?
Yeah, they can vote, the voters can vote no on the ban in November, and then there's no ban. There's, just tonight, all you're doing is saying yes or no to refer this to the voters. The ban's not going to take effect unless the voters actually
Right.
approve it in November.
Right.
So Counselor Smith had something.
We decided on Monday to not vote on a ban. We decided the only thing that we were
Consider.
going to be considering tonight was the 2-year moratorium.
Correct.
Right, well, that's what I mean. When I say
Yeah,
ban, it's
that's what I thought, too.
2-year ban, 2-year moratorium, yeah.
Counselor Johnson?
From what I've read, OHA hasn't even decided what they're going to do, how they're going to handle it, how they're going to regulate it. And so until they, I mean, they've had a year and a half, until they get their ducks in a row, we don't know what the rules are going to be. And I agree with the mayor. I mean, the gentleman says something about it's going to be an economic boom. Well, not for the city because we can't tax it. So it's like, I don't know. But I am for the moratorium because I think that OHA has to put forth what they're going to do, what they're going to make us do before we, do anything else. I mean, whether it'll, I mean, Ward 3 did not pass it, so, but I represent the whole city, but I just think the 2 years is good so that OHA can get their ducks in a row.
You got another comment? Councilor Novak was next.
So I'm just curious, because Corvallis is going ahead and going to abide by whatever OHA figures out whenever they figure it out. If we put it to a vote, which is what we're looking at doing tonight, let the people vote, let the people decide what they want to do. And then if somebody wanted to go to Corvallis and use it, they could, right? If Corvallis is going ahead and moving forward with it. Am I understanding this correctly?
Sure.
So if we want to exercise caution here, just to see how things play out, and I'm hearing everybody who's experienced it and said, this is a safe thing, you do it with somebody else with you and all that, I respect that. And I'm all for things that can help people who are addicted to drugs. I am so behind that. But I also am wanting to just make sure that it's not some situation that gets out of hand. And
It's tough.
yeah, so I think we all are willing to we want the people to have their say, and I know you've said they've already spoken, they've already said, but so if they have to reiterate it maybe because one ward wasn't so keen on it and the other 2 wards were, I don't know.
Councilor Smith?
A couple of weeks ago, the city manager sent us links to material that the OHA had prepared outlining their preliminary regulations. Is that correct? So they do have rules in place, at least tentatively.
That's correct, tentatively. And they're still under development, though.
Yes, thank you.
I didn't add, but one of my concerns, which I mentioned in an earlier meeting that I'll share with those of you who are very gung-ho about this and very in favor of it, is I'm concerned about the fact that the trained individual who's going to be with someone who's using this drug has a high school degree and 140 hours of training. That's what we were told. And I'm not saying they have to be a medical doctor. I'm a little concerned about that. So you're shaking your head no.
So that's what we were told last week, that you had to have a high school diploma and 140 hours of training. I'll tell you what, my kids have degrees, and I wouldn't want them doing this, right? Because they're not medically trained to CPR, all those kinds of things. And I do work with seniors. I have thousands of clients on Medicare that I've been to the hospital when the husband or wife passed away. I care about when a person is going through the last few moments of their lives and the stress associated with that with the family member. But I just can't, I think it can be a valuable thing for us as a community, but I haven't seen, I just struggle with a high school person that has some training to administer something that somebody could have a negative reaction to, right, and end up suffocating or choking on their own vomit. I struggle with that. Maybe the people that spoke had a better situation, maybe more skilled or more knowledge than I have of it, but it just doesn't feel right to me. I feel it's rushed, and I would like to see more data. Quite frankly, I'd like to see more data. And I will tell you, last year I had 81 clients pass away, and I would have loved to have something for them and their families to reduce the stress and the pain of those events. But trusting, it just feels like to me that Salem is saying, we voted, yes, but I don't think the public had enough information to make an informed decision on something as a hallucinogen like this, a drug like this. I get it. I don't take drugs at all other than ibuprofen, which I call vitamin I, but I just think that we need more data. And that's my personal opinion.
Well, these are some of the same arguments that we heard for Measure 91, that the voters didn't know what they were doing.
I didn't say that.
That's what the intimation is.
I just think that there needs to be, we need more data.
Mr. Mayor, can I bring you back to your process? You have a second reading of the ordinance.
Right.
And similar to last time, you should probably read that ordinance and then have discussion, not debate with audience, or it's
I agree.
time for discussion among council.
Us. So we have a second reading. We've had a second reading. Would the council like to make a motion to adopt?
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, you haven't read it yet?
No.
So will the city attorney reads the motion, the ordinance the second time in title only?
It's an ordinance declaring a temporary ban on psilocybin manufacturing and service centers within the city of Albany.
Would the council like to make a motion?
Is it to move to adopt the ordinance? Is
Yes.
to
Yes. Would the council
move
like
to
to make a
adopt the
motion to adopt
ordinance
the
for the
ordinance?
2-year moratorium? Yes. I move it.
Is there a second?
No.
I don't have a second.
I guess it dies.
Dead on arrival. So what
So
does that
this-
mean?
So the council has elected to not impose the ban. So we'll go into, yeah, that's it.
We're done? Okay.
Really?
So what does that mean to the public?
That means it will not go to the voters in November, and then starting in January, if people want to open up a facility, they'll be able to do so.
High school kids can come in here and do it.
Huh?
High school kids can come in here and hand it out. They won't do that. No.
Trust me, it could happen.
Okay. Next on the agenda is appointments or consent, adoption of the consent calendar. Would the council, we have a motion?
Oh, what's
I'd like to pull item C for discussion.
Say again?
Pull item C for brief discussion.
Okay, so so give me a second. Anybody else?
I'd like to pull item 6A.
6A? Okay, so let me write that down for myself. So we're gonna go in order. So we're gonna go 6A and 6C for discussion, correct?
Well, Mr. Mayor, first thing to do is vote on the consent agenda
Oh.
now, which now only includes 6B.
So let's go ahead and vote on the adoption of the consent agenda with changes to adopt the resolution, item B.
I would move for the adoption of the consent agenda, item 6B only.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion passes. So would council like to discuss 6A?
Yeah, do we have any appointments for those commissions?
Yes, we do. We
Yes.
do.
Where? On the desk?
I can comment on 6A. I would like to have separate votes on the two appointments.
Tell me who they are.
It was in the
I
packet.
couldn't find them in the.
There's a recommendation, it's your recommendation, Counselor, to appoint Tom Cordier to the Public Safety Commission, and Bessie's
For Dave Smith.
recommendation to appoint Dave Smith to the Landmarks Commission.
Yes.
Will sound good to me. I don't
Page,
think I have that in paper.
it's on page 25 of the packet.
Well, excuse me. I can find page 25.
So we have a motion to separate those two and vote individually on them.
Oh, I would move that we separate them.
Yeah, I got
Okay.
it.
All those in
Second.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
That was
We had a
Oh, no.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 So the item has been separated.
Okay.
So first up is Public Safety Commission, Tom Cordier, Mr. Cordier, Ward 1, Counselor Olson's appointment to fill a vacancy, terms expires 12/31/24.
Move to approve.
No, second.
All those in favor say
No,
aye.
we Need to have some discussion.
Any discussion? Let's have discussion. No discussion? Counselor
Yes.
Pelletier?
I had a little bit of a conundrum with it. I even queried the city attorney on what the current definition and how it might apply from an abstention versus a recusal. And he replied with what I actually thought was going to happen, and that was the abstention would be effectively an approval vote. I'm doing that because back in the day, 7 years ago, the city council in its infinite wisdom decided to gut the original understanding of what abstention would be and change it to this tortured language on how abstentions are actually applied. That's water under the bridge. We're here now. So what I'm going to do is recuse myself. Okay, and I'll leave the dais but I have to make an explanation as to why I'm recusing myself. Basically, what happened a few months ago when I tried to appoint Sharon Canopa to the Planning Commission, I thought that was pretty easy approval. I got my comeuppance on that one. This one is entirely the same process from my perspective, only on the opposite version or opposite political leanings. I'll freely admit, I disagree with Tom Cordier on 98% of the things I've seen him write. But to my thinking, that in no way says that he does not have a right to voice his opinion on a commission. When we are crying and whining about not getting people to apply, and here we have somebody that wants to apply, and that person on any commission that we have gets one vote. And what you're hinting at is that one person then is going to be able to sway the entire committee or the commission to their way of thinking. And the committees and commissions, they do not get to direct what happens for the agency that they're working under or for. They get to advise the city council, okay? So more power to Tom. If he can convince everybody on the safety commission of his way of thinking, by all means, then they will bring that recommendation to city council to do something for it. But just to bounce somebody simply because we don't like their political leanings, I think that's an anathema to the body politic. So I'm going to recuse myself and let things fall where they may.
Well, Councilor Kobzinski, I want to clarify because you said something and I want to make sure. You said that I had said that if you recused yourself, it would be a vote in the.
No, you didn't actually answer the question at all about recusal. You were talking about the abstention.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So you want to recuse yourself to not participate in the vote?
I'm not going to be involved in the discussion or the voting.
Okay,
And it doesn't count one way or the other.
okay,
It's just like if I was not here.
okay.
All right. So you got a motion.
We have a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? So that,
It's a motion. It was a
approve-
motion to appoint Tom
To
Cordier.
approve Tom Cordier for the Public Safety Commission.
Matilda made.
Matilda made a motion to approve.
And Dick seconded it.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye of Tom Cordier being on the Public Safety Commission.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
No, I'm sorry.
So we have can we do a roll call, please, for
Please.
Allison's sake?
Find my roll call notes here. They got buried. Here. Okay. Counselor Kupczynski's recused. Counselor Johnson.
No.
Counselor Smith.
No.
Counselor Olson.
Yes.
Counselor Novak.
Yes.
Counselor Bartholomew.
No.
That's 3 noes and 2 yeses.
So no appointment.
So the motion fails.
Motion passes?
Fails.
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 Okay.
Yes.
It's a non-issue, so you have to have 4 votes to pass to appoint Tom. We don't
So
have
there's
4
no
votes, so.
May I ask a question?
To appoint him.
The motion was to appoint
She
Tom
wanted
Cordier to the traffic.
Councilor Novak wanted both to appoint him. And he seconded it. And Councilor Johnson, Councilor Bartholomew, and Councilor Smith voted no.
Do you want to unrecuse yourself?
No, because my impression is that means there's not a vote to approve or deny.
That's right.
Correct.
No act-
But if
no-
there's not a vote to approve or deny him, then he
Then the
because
mayor
you have
can
to,
break the tie.
he's not on there now. Yeah, it would have to have a vote to put him on.
Council Novak had a question?
Motion does not pass.
Motion does not pass.
Correct.
So may I speak?
I was giving you the floor.
Thank you. I'm a little confused. You mentioned how we're looking always for people who are willing to serve. We get someone who's willing to serve, and now we've arranged it in such a way that that person is not able to serve. And you mentioned political leanings, which we're an apolitical body. I take offense that you would suggest such a thing. When I voted against Sharon Canopa, God knows, I consider her a friend. I voted against her taking a place because she had only recently, less than a year, stepped down from being our mayor, and she was our mayor for a decade, and prior to that, she was on the council for 8 years. I merely wanted her to step away from the scene so as maybe not to influence or to give the new council and mayor an opportunity to just have a fresh start. It had nothing whatsoever to do with political leanings.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah.
So the motion failed, so you can
we're-
come back up here.
So it's done, yeah, then we're moving on to,
So you can come back up here. So for the record,
The rest of the story was on what my thinking was, that if there wouldn't be able to get to a 3-3 tie, because I presumed that the mayor then, right or wrong, would then vote against it.
actually, you're wrong. I actually like Tom Cordier. He's a pain sometimes to me.
Okay, I didn't have a conversation with you before.
Well, I've been
Okay,
running nonstop.
so
Yeah.
I assumed that you were going to vote no, and I was trying to stop that in its tracks.
can I make a recommendation? Because we're getting, just to kind of help everybody out, we're getting probably off.
Top track.
We're off the track. What I would suggest is that it sounds to me like maybe somebody would want to make a motion to have this put back on the agenda again for the next meeting. Because, and vote again, or if you want to have a revote tonight, or make a motion for a revote, you could do that, but if you want to bring it back on the next one, we can do that.
You mean, you want to embarrass poor old Tom
Okay,
again?
no,
No, I'm just, yeah, but.
Well, then I move we revote.
Is there a second?
I'm disgusted.
Second.
Okay, second.
All those in favor say
Of what?
of
a revote.
Appointing Tom.
I move we appoint Tom Cordier.
No.
No, we can't. Wait. We have first we'll vote on the revote, and then make a motion.
Oh,
Right.
you need a motion.
So you have a motion and a second for a revote.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
No.
We have one no.
5-1. All right, so now you can vote again. Somebody can make a motion to either appoint or not
I
appoint.
move we have a revote to appoint Tom Cordier to the Public Safety Commission.
Have a second?
Second. I don't know, I'm
To reappoint.
Yeah. So there's a motion and a second now to appoint Tom Cordier to the Safety Commission.
Yes.
So motion and a second. And that's what you're going to vote on, to put him on.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
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 Roll call.
Yeah, 3-3 tie. I've written affirmative, yes.
Well, I didn't hear everybody vote.
Everybody voted.
We can do a roll call.
Do a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Kopsinski.
Yes.
Counselor Johnson.
No.
Counselor Smith.
No.
Counselor Olson.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm getting very tired. I marked them in the wrong column. Can we get a fresh form?
I'll join the club.
Okay. One more time. Counselor Kopsinski.
Yes.
Counselor Johnson.
No.
Counselor Smith.
No.
Counselor Olson.
Yes.
Counselor Novak?
Yes.
Counselor Bartholomew?
No.
Thank you, that's 3-3.
And then the mayor needs to vote, and he,
I vote in affirmative, yes, for appointment.
Passes 4-3.
Thank you. Next is the Commission for Landmarks for Dave Smith.
I would move to appoint Dave Smith to the Landmarks Commission.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion passes. You need a roll call? Okay. Next on the agenda would be item 6C, extension of contract.
Yes.
Councilor Novak?
Yes, thank you. And I will be brief because we're all tired. So I just wanted to mention that sodium hypochlorite is on the right to know hazardous substance list because it is cited by DOT, IARC, and EPA. This chemical is on the special health hazard substance list, and my request would be if staff can find any sort of alternative to sodium hypochlorite to do the job that sodium hypochlorite does, as it is highly toxic.
I'm Scott LaRock. I'm the water superintendent.
Yes.
Currently, the only alternative we would have, because it's chlorine. It's liquid chlorine. And what that does is it maintains a residual in the water that keeps the water disinfected as it moves through the treatment or out through the pipes, through the distribution system. Make sure that it is safe for you to drink at your tap. So if we were to remove chlorine from the treatment plants, the only alternative would be you'd have to disinfect at your tap, every single tap. Like, that's not something that I would consider to be reasonable.
So there's no other substance? Has it ever been looked into, is my question? Have you ever looked for anything that's not on the hazardous materials list?
No, we have not.
I would request that staff look into that, if possible.
May I speak?
Scott, this is
As I
an
say-
industry
as I say-
standard.
Just a second.
Here comes.
Councilor Smith has a comment.
And I think Director Bailey is going to be the one who can answer this, well, Scott as well. But my question is, the concentration that comes out the tap, how does that concentration add up to toxicity, I guess? Well, is it dangerous to drink our drinking water with this form of chlorine in it?
No. The maximum allowable as per OHA is 4 milligrams per liter, and that's leaving the tap. Typically, the residual will fade as it gets further and further as it sits more out in the system. What's leaving the the water treatment plant is about 1 milligram per liter.
The other thing I want to add is that we are required to maintain a chlorine residual in our drinking water for the health and protection of the community. The chlorine is what kills the bugs, which can make people sick. So must have a chlorine residual in our drinking water. There are other ways to disinfect, but currently we're required to have a chlorine residual. It is a very safe level. If you don't like the taste of the chlorine that remains in your drinking water, you're welcome to put it in a pitcher in your refrigerator and it will volatilize off, and then you will not have as much chlorine taste. It can be toxic, but so can water be toxic. And at the levels we are dosing our water, it is not toxic and our water is perfectly safe to drink.
Thank you, Director. Any other councilors want to make a comment on this? So do we have a motion to approve the extension of an increase?
I would move to extend the contract and increase as requested.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
Maybe I should recuse myself, I don't know.
So motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda item is staff reports. Let me get back to my agenda. I hate this way this thing scrolls. And that's Director Matthew Rutgers, reclassification of Planner 3 to Comprehensive Planning Manager, Matthew Rutgers, page 38 of your agenda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will be very brief tonight. Just I know we're getting kind of late. So essentially, the first item, I have both items up with you tonight from the staff reports. But comprehensive planning, also known as long-range planning, over the last several years has really taken a forefront for community development, and that's you've seen that through our HB 2001 work, as well as our East Albany Plan work and our major long-range planning projects. In the past, that hasn't been the case. We haven't had these long-range projects, but when we have had them, one of our Planner 3s has been doing that work. One of the challenges that we've found that by doing that, we're a little bit limited on the work that they can do as a Planner 3. And as we evaluated, we determined that creating basically reclassing into a comprehensive planning manager position would allow the necessary increased duties, as well as being able to do direct management of these multi-year, large-scale projects. So staff is requesting that council authorize reclassifying an existing FTE. So we're not adding new staff. It's reclassifying an existing one, an existing FTE of a Planner 3 into a comprehensive planning manager position. What that means for it budget-wise is, in your memo, and I apologize, it actually showed what would be a calendar year number. So about just a little under $1,200 for a calendar year, or for the remainder of our calendar year. For our biennium or fiscal year, it's about $2,600 difference from moving from that Planner 3 to a comprehensive planning manager. It's well within our budget.
Thank you, Director. Any questions? Do you have a motion?
Move to accept the reclass as requested.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you, Director. Next on item B is a salary grade adjustment for building official manager classification. Director Rutgers on page 39 of your packet.
Yeah, so this one is from time to time, we do take a look at our class and comps. I had asked our Human Resources Department to evaluate the class and comp for our building official position. As we do see other advertisements that are out there and where this is kind of at, so I asked them to look at it. When they did that classification, they did come back and determine that it was appropriately classified, but the salary grade was deficient. So we've provided a recommendation to increasing that existing FTE from an N34 position to an N42, which is still in the non-bargaining category, results in approximately a difference of, again, with this one, I show a calendar year of about $2,300, so that's the remainder of this calendar year, but for an entire fiscal year, about $4,200. That's well within our building budgets, so I don't have any concerns with that. But
Thank you very much, Director. Council, any questions? Do I have a motion?
I would move to adopt the salary grade adjustment for the building official manager classification as requested.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Council, it's 9 o'clock. We decided to vote to go past 9 o'clock. So do we have a motion to go past 9 o'clock? We're almost done. We have two things left on the agenda.
I would move that we continue the meeting past 9.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Next is business from the council. So I'll start with Councilor Novak. I'm going to go this direction. Next time I'll go this direction.
I have things to share, but I'll wait until other members are.
No, I'd appreciate if you go first. We're going to go this direction, and next time we'll go this direction.
Sir, you didn't hear me.
What?
I said I'm going to wait until people who are not present this evening are here. so I will wait for another time.
Oh, okay, so I thought you meant, okay, misunderstood. Thank you. Nothing at all tonight?
No.
Okay. Counselor Kopsinski?
I'd just like to comment on a nice trip my wife and I took yesterday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. from the Parks and Rec Department. We did got on one of the city buses, went up to Garibaldi, and then took the excursion train from Garibaldi to Rockaway Beach. Had lunch there, and then took the excursion train back to Garibaldi, and then came back to town for a total of about 12 hours. Wonderful, wonderful trip, full bus load of people. Everybody had a great time. Weather was great. Well, it was overcast, but it was still great. They have open air car that you can sit right behind the engine. What was interesting, it's a steam boiler. It's an old engine, but it was interesting to find out, how do you heat the boiler? What do you use to heat the boiler underneath to make all the steam? Any guesses? We were thinking
Charcoal would be my first guess.
if it was coal or wood or
Coal, yeah.
no, it's recycled automobile oil.
Oh,
So they're trying to help the environment by recycling some stuff, and it seems to work just fine. So, but it's a very enjoyable trip. They do it like 5 times a day, and it was, I think you could just do it on your own, but just getting up there. And so it was an all-day event. It was nice. So kudos to the Parks Department for putting that on.
Counselor Smith?
Briefly, since the last meeting, I participated in National Night Out last week with the police department and visited 3 neighborhood parties in Ward 3. It was terrific. Had a great time.
Thank you. Counselor Olson?
nothing tonight.
Counselor Bartholomew?
I too, Marilyn took mine. I participated in National Night Out also, and it was a good experience. I enjoyed my partner and the police department and my T-shirt that I got to wear. And my neighborhood it was nice to meet people in different sections of my neighborhood that I hadn't seen before, so that was good.
So Counselor Smith, Johnson, excuse me.
I didn't participate because I had COVID, so I had to stay home. So, welcome to the club, right? So, but that's all.
Thank you. I participated, and I went with the chief out to the Mennonite Village, and we visited 4 parties. Oh my, wonderful people, wonderful discussions about safety, really real interest in the crime rate that's increasing due to certain measures and bills before that we're having to deal with. But it was a great connection with the folks out there. It was really nice to see that. We do have some events this weekend. The Honor Flight Gala is going to be a banquet at the YMCA on Sunday. And tomorrow there's some things going on at some of our parks. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I'll be attending the Oregon Mayor's Conference starting tomorrow at 1 p.m. And I've asked Counselor Smith to welcome the folks for the concert into town.
And update there, on recommendation from the Parks Department, they have suggested that the MC do that because we're going to have a really big crowd.
Okay.
And I might have to walk from home in order to find a
Oh,
parking
really?
spot.
Okay, no problem. Well, as long as we've got it figured out.
It's figured out.
It's figured out. That's fantastic. And with that, I'll turn it over to the city manager for his report.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't able to go to National Night Out either, nor was Ray Kopsinski. So I wanted to thank Councilor Kopsinski for helping out with the candidate orientation event that we had that evening. Also want to commend Chris for all the hard, you already did so, Mayor, but she put a lot of work into that ordinance. And really, it comes down to the council giving direction as to what they want with portable toilets. And we can make whatever that is work. But as she noted, it's a real challenge to put something like that into code. And then after this evening, we'll have to have a discussion about public comment and how the council wants to handle that. I'll remind you that with the way you manage these meetings is when you have an ordinance like this, you have a debate between yourselves after the ordinance is read. If indeed you want, you're not by your own policy supposed to have back and forth debate with the audience.
Agreed.
So if that's something that you want, there's some ramifications with that. And that's something that we'll have to talk about if that's the case. And with that, I've said enough and it's late. Thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. The next meeting is going to, sorry. Next meeting is August 22nd at 4 PM for a work session, and Wednesday, August 24th for our normal city council meeting. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.